11th, 2025, Idlewise Board of Commissioners meeting. It is 9:01 a.m. And the first thing we're going to do before we approve the agenda is swear in our new officers. And Nancy Cole was elected to commissioner, and Doug Prescott was elected to the clerk. 3-year term for Nancy, 2-year clerk for Doug. So if you raise your hand and repeat after me, I, and say your names.
I, Doug Prescott,
I, Nancy Cole,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will bear faith
that I will bear faith
and true allegiance to the United States of America
and true allegiance to the United States of America
and the state of New Hampshire,
and the state of New Hampshire,
and will support the constitutions thereof.
and will support the constitutions thereof,
So help me God.
so help me God.
I think there's
Congratulations.
a second one for local officials too. I think that was one for like, I do solemnly swear.
It says any person, so let's
Okay.
cover it.
Do
Okay.
the second one.
I
I, Nancy Cole,
I, Doug Prescott,
do solemnly and sincerely swear
do solemnly and sincerely swear
and affirm that I will faithfully
and affirm that I will faithfully
and impartially
and impartially
discharge and perform
discharge and
perform all of the duties incumbent on me
all of the duties
incumbent on me
incumbent on me
as commissioner,
as commissioner,
as clerk, according to the best of my abilities
according to the best of my
and
abilities
agreeable to the rules
and agreeable to the rules
and regulations of this Constitution
and regulations of this Constitution
and the laws of the state of New Hampshire.
and the laws of the state of New Hampshire.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks.
you definitely covered that one. The second one I think is more for local officials. First one is for like federal.
Governor, counselor, senator, or other military,
Anyway, we're covered. We did both.
they're up and down. Okay, so next thing is the approval of the agenda for this meeting. I'll make a motion that we discuss and approve this agenda.
Second.
Okay.
Do you want to do the seconds this year? We'll default to you?
No, every now and then I just feel I just need to get a word in. That's
Well, no, I think we could switch it just for balance. Well, we have to do an election too here. As to who's going to be, you could end up being chair.
Nancy can take the seconds, as always. It was a delay there, so because she's still stunned by being, sworn in. So.
So one of the things we need to do is set the water rate, and where should we do that? I see you have water fees under administrator's report.
Yeah,
Good, that's where we're going to do that.
okay.
No need for a non-public session today.
Nope.
Anything else that we want to make sure is on the agenda?
Yes, we want to choose chair. And I'm going to make a motion that Mark Graffam be chair for 2025.
I'll second that.
Do we have to swear him in now?
Nope.
No, it's
Okay.
just an
Just
appointment. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
3-0, I guess. Approval of the minutes of March 4th and March 6th. I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of March 4th first. Discussion. Second, needs a second.
Second.
Discussion.
I have a few spelling things.
Before you get to the spelling, Doug Prescott appears in the minutes saying something else, but at the beginning of it, it doesn't say that he's here. If you could just add Doug in at the
Oh, yeah.
very beginning.
Right.
Go ahead, Will.
Under Jeff's report, bullet point number 5 says the routine service done on the 2018 Dodge reviled. It's not a reviled vehicle, revealed. All right, and then the other
We
one.
got it fixed, so now it's not reviled.
And then on 5, Commissioners' Concerns Reports, Mark Graffam under bullet point number 2, the very last line says documented for the Grissom Culvert project, culvert. T, needs a T at the end of that, culvert.
Excellent.
That's all I have.
Yeah, I only had the Doug was missing.
All
Sorry,
in favor of approving the minutes of the 4th, say aye.
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 3-0.
Okay.
Now, a motion
Minutes.
that we discuss and approve the minutes of the 6th. Needs a second.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
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 3-0. Approval of the manifest. There's an operations manifest for $4,369.83. I'll make a motion that we discuss and approve this manifest.
Second.
Any noteworthy things? I wanted to see if we're enjoying a new lower rate of electricity, but we seem to have a problem with the water system that we can discuss with Ian if he's still scheduled to come,
Yep.
and that will be in 20 minutes usually. Anything that you'd like to highlight here? We have equipment repairs, we have heating bills, we have electric bills, we have a bill for advertising the newspaper, and that's for the annual meeting, or is that for?
It was both annual
Recruit-
meeting and the one-day ad for the DPW.
We're spending about $1,500 for electricity between the water system and general government this month. Some auto parts from Napa and Ossipee Auto totaling about $500.
Mm-hmm.
And fuel for the trucks at $666. Welding tips, $150, welding supplies. Any other comments on this?
No.
All in favor of approving this manifest?
Aye.
Aye.
So that manifest has a dollar value of $4,369.83. Next, we have the water manifest at $5,020.59. I'll make a motion that we discuss and approve this water manifest for $5,020.59.
Second.
Discussion, we have 3 items on it. It's the water system paying for its portion, I think,
Yep.
of the electric bill
Yep, the
Another-
pump houses.
and other expenses. And it's also paying for PA pump house testing. Any further discussion on this? All in favor of this manifest at $5,020.59, say aye.
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 3-0 on this manifest. So at 9:09, we move to the DPW report. Morning, Jeff.
Good morning. So let's go right to the posting of the roads. Something I meant to mention last week, but slipped my mind, so let's, we should get them posted.
Let's see if I can do this, because I want to make a motion about a policy change on this. But maybe to simplify it, I'll make a motion that we approve the posting of the roads as soon as possible.
Second.
And that means running an ad in the paper, correct?
Yes.
Like Madison did.
Yep.
I don't know where that's written that we have to run an ad. Not to say we shouldn't do it, but usually we're behind the curve on the surrounding towns posting it. And I'll talk about how we're gonna change the policy that we're not voting on this anymore. So yes, you can post the roads as soon as possible and run the ad as soon as possible. So the sign can come up before the ad hits. Let's get it done.
Yeah.
Because the roads are gonna be
I'll
soft.
do that this
We're gonna be in the 50s.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Okay, so my second motion is that the foreman has the authority to post the roads when he feels the road should be posted, and it should be in sync with the towns of Conway and Madison. And I'll explain if this gets a second.
Second.
So, The way into Idlewise from Route 113 is by one of 3 roads. It's Idlewise Drive, Grissom, and Sonnen. Am I missing one?
Lucerne turns into Altorf.
Yeah, I guess you can go
Yep.
in Lucerne and join
Go into-
Sonnen in the middle. I left Sonnen out of that.
Right.
No, you had Sarnen.
Did I?
You
You did
didn't-
have Sarnen,
it's
yeah.
Al,
Okay.
what's,
Yeah,
they got like Al,
Alpenhof.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's the
I
one
guess, yeah, I guess if
So
you
there's
want.
4 off of 113.
But once you're into Idlewise, if you want to go out, if you're going through Idlewise, and if you're a truck, you're not allowed to go through Idlewise. Although we
They
need
do.
a bigger police department to stop that. Which I'll vote for if I ever have that opportunity. So you can commute to Idlewise during mud season. If Conway's posted, you can't go out from Town Line Road. You can't use Madison's Road if Madison's posted. At the top of Town Line Road, you're turning onto a Conway Road. You can't, if they're posted, you can't drive your truck out that way.
Huh.
So it makes sense to me is that we should have it up at the same time, if not before they do. And that,
They have signs?
and it seems like we're always waiting. It never happens on the day. We're always behind when it takes a commissioner's vote to do this, which I see as completely unnecessary.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need to go out and look at a road that Jeff's looking at and say, yeah, you're
Yeah,
right.
it's soft.
Yeah,
Or see it in the paper?
it's spring, yeah, it's above 32.
Yeah.
So that's why my motion is that it doesn't take a vote of the commissioners to post the roads. The foreman can ask the administrator to run the ad. And we should check on that, whether we're required to run the ad. Because I think if Conway and Madison run the ad, people know the roads are posted. Particularly if they know we're gonna be posted when they're posted.
Right.
Well, the ironic thing, when we were talking about it last week, about posting, and I sent the email to you guys, was some Idlewise resident called and was inquiring as to posting, knowing that Madison had posted theirs.
Right.
They had a delivery coming, and she was like, so that's...
That happens every year too.
Yeah.
And typically the foreman has the authority to look at the forecast and say, if you make your delivery before 8 a.m. on this morning when I know it's going to be cold enough that
Right.
the roads are going to be stiff until 9. We've been doing that for 40 years.
Okay,
Right.
good to know.
Yeah.
But
no,
they
I-
have to get advance authority. They don't decide themselves that the conditions are
Gotcha.
right. They have to get it from the foreman.
Yeah.
So the motion on the floor is to change the policy that the foreman gets to decide when the roads get posted and when the ad. We want to check to see if we need to run the ad. Here's simply one or two.
Okay. Makes sense.
Second. And I.
All right.
3-0 on that policy.
We're
change.
only here once a week. You're out there every day. You know,
Right.
you're where the rubber meets the road, literally.
Right.
Can we post before, like Madison, or
Sure.
do we have to be, oh, good.
Jeff
Yeah,
can.
they went out yesterday morning. They were out yesterday putting them out there, so
Okay, good,
we'll get out there this afternoon.
All right.
We'll get them done.
nice.
And with Wood's comment there, the rubber meets the road, we're gonna be putting some rubber edges on the trucks and
On the plow blades.
on the plow blades, yep. So I need a one front rubber edge. Tony's on his way to McLean's to get that now. And with that, so what you do is the carbides come off, the cover blade comes off, the rubbers go on up against the moldboard of the plow, and then you have to take the regular cutting edge and put it on the rubber to hold it in place and bolt it on. So
Longer bolts?
what's that?
Longer bolts?
Longer bolts, yep. So the cutting edge on the 2019 has been broken in several spots. We welded it back together. So I need a new cover blade as well. So Tony's picking up the bolts, the rubber edge, and the regular cutting edge right now at McLean's.
What do you figure the cost total?
I believe that rubber edge is like $300. I forget, $30 a foot at 10 feet.
We can do more than $300 in damage on one road without having them on now.
Exactly,
Uh-huh.
and that's that, and the regular edge, I'm not exactly sure how much those cutting edges cost. They're cheaper than, I believe, the rubber. But yeah, so we're getting that, we're gonna get those set up. you know,
Should we
had a
hoard
little
this
event.
stuff before the steel embargo's gone?
Yes.
Right. Had another event last Thursday with that rain. So it really greased up some roads. It feels you feel ridiculous. You go around, you sand. By the time you're done sanding, you got to start over again, and it beats you up because you just feel like you're wasting material. But you know, my buddy lives on Constance, and he called me up one morning. And he said, "Jeff, the end of Grison's like a sheet ice." I said, "I'll be right there." And right
Yeah.
out I went.
Yeah.
So you know, there's a lot of that going on and that ended up on Friday morning as well. So before the roads got posted, I did load up with some sand. I got 3 loads of sand last week. So we're in good shape with material, with the salt we still have, and even yesterday, you know, that inch of snow packed onto the pavement, we had to treat that to clean that off first thing in the morning so people could get out and about.
Yep.
So up to 26 events this season so far with snow, rain, and ice. Again, I got to get that up to Jen. I got to see her about the phone. Just been kind of chasing my tail, but yeah. So again, we were going to try to do some more high winging. We did some yesterday, just Tony and I, which is slow moving with the 2 of us, but we didn't have Willie to come in. So Tony and I worked Apron Vale, and we worked Young Frau, and you know, it's really helping. We did a quick tool around this morning, and the roads are looking pretty good with the way they're pushed back, and that should help dry them out faster. And then just pushing back the banks as well, intersections, and just getting the snow off as much as we can.
I did a little video recording of
Quite a few views. I see.
667 people watched
Yeah.
That's
Tony push the
insane.
snowbanks down in front of my house.
Yeah, I didn't think there'd be that much interest.
It's a big toy.
That is. I think that's classic.
Yeah, we're all little kids when it comes to big toys. We
I
just
know.
love that stuff.
Yeah.
And then Madison put a picture of their grader up because that's going to be quite a discussion Saturday morning.
Yes, it is.
I'm predicting that's over 2 hours on that warrant out.
Yeah, I bet.
Really? Jeez.
Wow.
If the budget committee spent 2.5 hours in their last meeting to discuss it, they were all in agreement. 4 people took 2.5 hours to discuss it. So there's going to be people that don't agree with them that are going to speak, and I see it being long.
But yeah, so like I said, with those little things, and I'll throw it out there. You know, we did put on the big truck the new chains and
Oh, yeah.
realized that they weren't the right chains.
Oh.
You know, and that's too bad because they kind of come unglued a little bit. So, talking with my chain guy there, BB Chain,
You should say that they actually broke.
yeah,
They did.
they did. They just started coming
How long
apart.
did they
The new
last?
chains we got?
Yes.
One day.
One day.
And we weren't even spinning the tie. It wasn't like you were like really running them hard or anything.
Wrong
And
chains.
when I made the phone call to the supplier, he looked on the sheet and realized that he had made the mistake and sent
Okay.
us the wrong chains, even though I ordered the right chains and size. And he made right by it. He come down, he took them off the truck. He ended up bringing them back that night, knowing that we wanted to get back out high winging, and we couldn't high wing without the chains on that truck. She just doesn't go. And so, you know, he made a mistake, but he made right by his mistake and got us the right product right away. So that's the reason why I like doing business with that
Yeah.
guy. He's a straight shooter. Tony, again, having the old Hawkeye, was fueling the grader yesterday, and you know, that back compartment comes up and the fuel tank's in the back, and that's where the radiator is, and he spotted a bracket that the radiator sits on that's welded, and the weld was undone. It had broken off. Which was
Welded at the when it's manufactured, or it was re-welded?
No, manufactured
Okay.
weld. So again, with that would have been out of commission. He ran it up. We ran it up to Albany Service, and they put a nice weld onto that. Now I'm contacting Volvo to see what's up with that, because they may come out and redo the whole thing for nothing. I think they have something where they stand by the framework on their products. But that was out of commission without Alan doing what he had to do there yesterday. So another bill that'll come into the office there for next week probably. But that's where I'm at.
Good thing we adjusted the repair budget up.
Right.
Yeah.
Annual
Yes.
meeting.
Yeah.
Right.
All the stuff is seasoned equipment now.
Right.
Everything we have is. Any questions for Jeff? Willie's helping you today? Willie?
Nope, he couldn't make it,
Okay.
and it turned out with the road, it's just not firm enough out there. It wasn't as cold last night as they predicted,
right.
Right.
and we're hoping that tonight will get colder and we could hit it at least till noon tomorrow. That's kind of our plan, because we're pretty close. We got to get up. We want to finish Aspen, and then Rhineac, Adelboden, Biasca, Briston Stock, Salines, and Little Loop. As far as the rain went last week, the roads held up well. I was pleased with how, we've gotten the water off the roads. Little Loop did have some ponding, and we all know what Little Loop is, and what, no one's sure what needs to be done down there. It's one of those tight and narrow still roads that's, the goat path of the district really, but other than that, having some puddling, the roads were really.
Madison is gonna grade their portion of Idlewise Drive today.
Yeah, I saw them headed out as I was pulling in.
They
They
put
had
up,
a convoy going.
yeah, it got really potted up,
I heard they did
North Division.
North Division last week or the other day. But yeah, so that's all I
So it
got.
must be nice to have the grader right there when you need it, huh?
It is.
Mm.
It's very
This
nice.
political statement is brought to you by. Well, thank you.
You're welcome. You guys have a good day.
You too.
Thank
You
you.
too.
Before you go,
Yes.
we are going to talk about Jeff's job as foreman expanding to capture water system data.
Okay.
When you are excavating, when you are fixing a problem, or
Yeah.
when a curb stop is going in, it seems that we've defaulted into the highway department is on call, is on site, assisting with delivering materials in our one-ton trucks.
Yep.
We have the backhoe there. We've even had, I think when you did Idlewise Drive and Little Shore this summer, there were three of our employees there with truck and backhoe. What I'm getting at is, we are going to have discussions where we incentivize Jeff to capture any and all possible data. We're getting him a snazzy new cell phone with a camera. We want him to take pictures, we want him to take measurements, depths of hole, location of the mains. Like, did we capture exactly where those mains are at Little Shore and Idlewise Drive? The village didn't have any pictures of what that spaghetti arrangement of pipes were.
Oh, yeah, we have photographs of that, but I'm not against this at all. I think
Yeah.
our mind is in other places, and we have gotten to, cutting, a pretty decent amount of cost from our end, not having to bring in extra labor, not having to bring trucks and, all the stuff down, so you guys have it all available here, and it's been great. So yeah, I'm all
We haven't
for that.
discussed it yet, but
Yeah.
I'm thinking that this is the way to do asset management. I've watched the tens of thousands of dollars a year that have been spent and blown for maps that we don't even use. And it comes back down to the curb stop cards are the most valuable thing, and where we secured that with an $800 investment last year. And I want to get the PC down into that room so you guys can, but
Yeah, for access.
but
Yeah.
what I haven't worked out with the commissioners is, out of the water system funding, Jeff gets cash incentives for each episode that he records the data and pictures and measurements, and makes sure that the steel tape goes into the ground at key places so that it's easier to find this stuff. And I'm even thinking that Jennifer is in a bonus situation for processing the data, because we're losing these opportunities
Right.
to capture this, and we might end up with more than you capture and we'll sell it back to you.
Yeah, that's good. The only input I have on this, which I think this is great, is just a meaningful way to document and refine that same information.
Yes.
That's
Yep.
always the challenge with asset management is you can have all the information under the sun, but if you can't get to it when you need to get to
This
it,
is why they're hearing this for the first time, that
Gotcha.
I've taken my thoughts further and said
Yeah.
that Jennifer's end is just as critical, almost as critical as Jeff's. If Jeff captures it all, but it doesn't, as you're saying, it doesn't get formatted and put in the right place and backed up,
yeah.
then,
And I think we have a lot that we can, once there's something to put it to, we have a lot of pictures from all of these jobs. I mean, certainly over the last 2 or 3 years. Before
yeah,
that,
but you were supposed to give us the picture on Idlewild Drive last summer.
which one is this?
This is,
Oh, the
50.
50.
Yeah.
So the program I have, without you guys having it, I can't actually export.
Right.
I can
Right.
create a whole
You
new
said
file and
that.
send it, but I can't
Yeah.
take the entire note package
Yeah.
and send it over, which it
Right.
kind of.
you can take screenshots.
manual
When you
effort to
when you
try to-
bring your software up that shows the picture, you can take a screenshot and send us the screenshot. We'll get the picture.
Could maybe do it that way, yeah, for sure. I mean, I can get you the pictures. I can't get you the. So
But
what I
the-
thought was I'm gonna
out
click a
of
button
data, I
and send
know.
you
Yeah.
like
Right.
The whole,
like a
yeah.
kitted up little thing. I can do that between other people that have the same software, and I guess
Right.
that's. But the picture still exists as a JPEG or whatever.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I can. They're on our phones or everywhere. So, you know, that we could do. I guess yeah, that stalled out when I couldn't get button click, send you all
I
the
know.
notes, depths, and all that
Right.
stuff that we have with it, because the pictures, you know, like it's worth 1,000 words, but the words matter too.
Yeah, we still have to go back to that culvert at that house. Idlewild Drive, Granara?
57?
Granara's house.
57 sounds right.
The house, the tall house,
Oh, yes,
that culvert,
right, the short culvert.
if you come close enough,
Yeah.
we need, I have an idea of, I want to talk to you guys about standardizing the headers that we put on these things. But that's another time.
Right.
But that's to introduce the idea to you, so we haven't worked out the details, I haven't even brought it up with this board yet,
Yep.
but we're killing two birds with one stone.
I'm all for
Yeah, no,
Jeff
it makes
is,
sense.
Jeff's on board. I mean, and we can
Yeah.
work. Obviously, we can get a lot of what he needs for him, and hand phone out, whatever. But we like having him there at the tail end of the job anyway for road conditioning and all that stuff,
Yeah.
knowing exactly what we're walking away from, so he knows what to look for. You know, check in on it, whatever. So we you know, it works pretty well to work as a team on it as opposed to two different, you know, factions. So I'm all for it.
Work out the cash details as we go along,
Awesome.
but it's gonna
Cash
be
is
good, it
always
has to
king.
be good to make you think.
It's not gonna be greenbacks and an
There's an
envelope.
opportunity.
Oh, come on.
Under the table, under the table.
It's
Mom.
20% off the top of that.
I want you to say, Ian's coming in.
Right. There we go. Water job
It already
today.
does. That was fun. That was the most fun. You know, it's,
No, we work well together, and you know,
Yeah.
this is one more step in helping, you know, things along for the rest of the district here, and you know, again, it's a couple
I think a
extra,
couple of years down the road of this, we're gonna see a remarkable change in
Right.
what we have.
couple extra steps going into it, and you know,
And make
like
the
I
stuff
said-
easier to find in bad conditions.
Right.
And know what's under the ground before you get there, as
yeah,
much
that
as
would
we
be
can.
amazing.
Yeah, that'd be a different thing, huh?
It doesn't sound that crazy. There are places that is the case. You know exactly what you're walking into.
Right.
Depth, pipe type, you know, location. So it's possible. We just got to start. Somewhere. So cool. Yeah, like I said, I'm all on board. So
Anything else for Jeff?
Alrighty,
Thank you.
you got it.
have fun, buddy.
Yeah.
Mud season's upon you.
Yes, sir. See you, pal. Have a good day.
So, let's see, at 9:30, we'll go to scheduled appearance of Simply Water, Ian Hayes, water operator for the village. Good morning.
Good morning.
We had our annual meeting. Why don't we list out what we could talk about?
Okay.
I want to talk about the votes at the annual meeting and the projects that the voters approved.
Okay.
And that would encompass also Nick's drawing, which he sent out yesterday.
Yep. Saw that.
You did have a chance to look at that.
Yep.
And there was a water call last month on Blinden, and you identified the leak in the Rhineac zone at being at number 1 Birkenstock.
Yes?
So you have things that you'd like to discuss too?
Well, you just took one of them. But that, we got that, and we have the, you know, the issue with the DPW tripped out again over the weekend, and I'd like to at least discuss a little bit. I know you guys are working on the alarm system with the PLC setup, but I guess that general alarm dialer, and also our communication system with the sheriff's office, that I'd like to just give you some feedback that I get from them every time they call. So those are the only things I got on the hot topic item here.
Makes me think that whatever he's gonna tell us about the sheriff's department could be worked into an agreement. But anyway,
Yes.
so what do you wanna start with?
Why don't you guys, let's hear what happened at the annual meeting.
The warrant article for the design and a bid package for the Bergdorf water main connection between the dead end on Bergdorf and the dead end at the first house on Bergdorf, I think it's number 2, was approved. So they want us to do that.
Okay.
Nick's schedule mentioned that when we want to do fused 4-inch pipe, he said that E.J. Prescott rents that equipment.
They do. They don't always have it available though. So it wasn't if you're planning a project and you want to get the above ground, you know, big set of equipment, and that's you know, you plan in advance, you get that 2 or 3 weeks ahead of time. That's not the stuff when we had that conversation a few meetings ago. It was more about the repair equipment for in the hole, which they also have, but it's like the last time I called them, it was unavailable and wasn't going to be available for 2 weeks. Like if I've already rented it, and you know, you call to get it, well, it's gone. You know.
Well, you talked about a fitting where the heater element was built into the fitting.
Yes.
And I assume that's in repair situations, you want things like that.
There's also a coupling, dresser coupling, completely different looking style than the ones we use right now. Are probably 1.5 times the size of the pipe, if that. You know, it's just a pretty grand scheme of things, low profile item. The ones they do make dresser couplings, which are just the slide repair couplings we put on the pipe when we're changing out a chunk of pipe. You don't have room to get like a slip fitting on or something. They're just a tremendous amount of money in the grand. You know, I don't know, like a 3-inch dresser coupling is usually $200. The 3-inch, I can't remember the name of it right now, but the 3-inch repair coupling we need for that might be like $1,000. So it's a lot more money, but to have them on the most, you know, if we're going to move into HDPE as a kind of a sole use product, we'll want to have both type, but we want to have those available for in the instance that we couldn't get the rental equipment, or if we in lieu of buying that.
So is one of them a mechanical one that doesn't have a heating element in it? Is that
Yes.
what you're saying?
Yes. So we would eliminate the need for the right now they have the HDPE style that kind of has already pre-faced elements on the inside of it. You hook up a electrical diode, if you will, and it melts off the coil, and it seals it in the same way that instead of you bringing them to, apart, scaling it, heating it, and bringing it back together, you bring the two faces together, and it's supposed to work, the same. I can't tell you I've ever used them because I haven't. I've seen them used when we're putting in like a flanger. There's a lot of different applications for it, but yes, it's a similar concept. Unfortunately, that's not always. That one doesn't slide past, and I guess where we need a little bit of a different setup is like when I'm in like a 6-foot hole and I've only got 6-8 feet of pipe exposed, and it's 4-inch pipe. There's not enough room to like bring the pipes up and like create 3 or 4 inches of space in order to get like a hard fitting on there. You need that ability to slide past it, drop in your exact cut length piece of pipe, and then slide your fittings back over.
Yeah.
That's where these other style, there's a right tool and part for every job, and while that coupling would work, it's almost like you need open-ended space and or a very large hole where you got enough room, where you got to extend a lot of extra pipe to be able to kind of get it up and out of the way so you can kind of create space, if you will. So I'm same thing. I'm on board with the 4-inch HDPE. I think it's a very resilient pipe. I think there's a lot of benefit to it, pliable. But the downside of it is repair. That's what you shouldn't be expecting a ton of it. But let's be honest, life happens, and it's and so you want to be prepared, because it's not routinely carried by every contractor in the valley. It's not like we can call any number of people and they'd say, oh yeah, I got, you know, same way you get stock other stuff.
So the force main that goes from Jungfrau to Rheineck
Yep.
is 4-inch fused. So we have a critical piece that we know is down deep, and we kind of understand the pressures that that lives through.
Yeah.
And so there's not a big probability of a break there, but it could happen. So
Sure.
we should have the pieces. Where we put in 4-inch main before we get enough of these new PRVs installed, they may be under unacceptable levels of pressure. They're gonna handle it better than what we already have in the ground, but
Right. Yeah, we know.
in
we're
short,
gonna be-
we need the replacement part. We need the fixed strategies in place.
Yep.
So we just have to stop buying that stuff.
Yep.
And if you figure out what it is that we should have in inventory to cover the 4-inch fused pipe fixes, that would be good.
So, let me get this straight. So going forward, that's the type of pipe we want? The 4-inch fused?
That's what we're gonna put in on Bergdorf.
Okay. So it's a hardy, strong pipe, but should there be a break in the future, it's a more difficult repair than, okay, mainly because of.
And you know what the blue brute looks like, the plastic, the polyethylene pipe that has the rubber gasket and you stick the, so the thing that's binding it is the fact that it's buried and it's forced into itself in the rubber gasket. And we put that under high pressure, so I imagine those things are weeping all over the village. And the fuse pipe wouldn't weep because there's no gasket set up. They melted together.
Right.
And the fact that we're replacing as much 4-inch pipe from here on in, 2-inch pipe from here on in with 4-inch pipe, the system is just gonna be
Right.
twice as good.
It's a very durable pipe too. I mean, certainly, like everything, you know, it's not a new product. They've been using HDP since for a long time, but using it in the way that they're using it as water mains, because it's been service line forever. But it's been more widely used as a water main maybe in the last 15 years or so. So, you know, like all things, you find, I mean, so far we haven't found any, outside of the repair complications, there hasn't been much downside to HDPE. You can string out hundreds of feet of it in a row, you can drag it with equipment across the ground, you know, I mean, it's just a lot more, you're not as worried about the conditions of the pipe as you are with almost any other type.
It's not just the Jungfrau to Rheineck force main. The new main that was put in the Rheineck project from the top of Bristenstock to the dead end of Class 6 Bristenstock, that's all fused 4-inch main. So we're already in the 4-inch.
The Aspen, you know, both dead ends going down to Aspen is also fused.
Yes.
The only part of that whole new pressure zone that's not is where they connected to existing up Adelboden, Biaska, that whole area.
The pressure zone.
Yeah.
So I don't get it.
Which thing?
They created a pressure zone
With the PRV?
with the whole pump house at Rheineck. The whole pumping system was to increase the pressure on Adelboden and Biaska. So the increase in 45-year-old 2-inch water lines, and they put in 4-inch fused pipe that has nothing to do with the pressure zone, except on Aspen. That's pressurized. That's part of the new pressure zone. But from Adelboden down Bristenstock, that's on the output of the PRV and is not part of the Rheineck pressure zone.
Well,
That was like 4,000 feet of fused pipe.
it's still significantly higher pressure than it was
Was it?
previously. So there is still an increase in the pressure on that main. Differential is about 30 PSI, I
It
think.
was gravity before.
It was gravity before.
And now that PRV should
Depending on what it's
make it
knocked
look
down
like
to.
the gravity. Could be less than the gravity.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know the exact pressure of where that's actually operating. It's something we gotta find out. But
down at number 22, the first house, the second house at the bottom of the hill.
Yep.
You had a
Yep.
recorder on there. He was seeing 80 pounds
Like before the project or after the project?
after the project.
I don't know what he was seeing beforehand.
Neither do I.
Yeah.
But the valve was also open where it went down to Salins. The Bristol stock pipe used to connect to Salins
Yes,
and
yes.
feed in, doesn't do that
No,
anymore.
no, there's a double valved shut off over there,
I don't get it.
so.
But it's not the biggest issue we have today.
Sure, gotcha. Okay, so I've got that, you guys approved the dead end of Bergdorf, that's great. You know, redundancy is always a beautiful thing. The inventory, the 4-inch HDPE.
Any comments on the Como drawing?
The only thing I would like to see is a very basic PRV installed on the bypass line. So if we were to ever use the bypass line, it's still a PRV, you know, a line with reduced pressure on it that we're not, I mean, for what the cost of that is to add in. It's a
Do you
pretty,
notice the drain pipe?
the 4-inch daylight, I did, as far as.
What's
which part
interesting
of it.
is that he, in the drawing, it looks to me like he runs it across Como to the edge of the road.
I did not look at that aspect
And
of
he
it
was,
very thoroughly,
he had
so.
mentioned that he didn't think he wanted to do that, and last time we talked to him, he was gonna run the pipe to daylight all the way down Como
Oh,
To
to
Hotwell.
Jotwell.
Yeah.
And so, I have to ask him why he changed his mind, because the drawing is showing it,
Now going just across the street.
To the wetlands over here?
yep,
That's what,
yep,
where the original drainage supposed to go down?
yep. Because we told him that we weren't gonna do that right away, so maybe that's why he decided to run one out that way, and that
Yeah.
can be changed. When we do run a new pipe out of the new PIV down to the intersection of Hotwell,
Is there, I can't remember, was there a reason we didn't want it to do that?
it's that, well, what I took it is that you like the idea of being able to bring a pump, and the sump is already in the design, that
Right.
you drop it in, and with bringing your own power, you pump it out if you need to.
That's just in lieu of a good daylight drain.
We decided to do both.
Yeah.
And we asked them to put the exhaust of a daylight drain in, but we weren't gonna run the pipe. We weren't gonna put a new water main from the PIV
Right.
until he's seen a year or two of data to see what he really wants to do as far as the design. So we're gonna install this thing without having a daylight drain out to Hotwell. So I think what he decided was he's gonna run the daylight drain across Como
Mm-hmm.
to the wetlands, which I'm thinking, when we do put the pipe from the PIV down to Hotwell, that's when we run a parallel daylight drain, if we need to now. 'cause we
Yeah,
already
I
have
mean,
one.
but all things equal, if that pipe works and it's, you know, I mean, the grade, I assume you put it in there because it does, you know, I mean, as long as it's gonna pitch away and it's gonna be at the low point of the pit and stuff, that's pretty quick, you know, installation, that's not a major ordeal. That's a day job if that, to install that pitch pipe, so.
The only thing I would look at, I guess I need to ask him what he's thinking before I get too far ahead of
Yeah,
him.
yeah,
But
agreed.
where's the property line for lots on the
That
other
is-
side?
That is nothing I concern myself with, so.
Well, I would think to avoid any complications, the daylight exhaust goes out to where a property line is.
Yeah, I see where
It's
he's
not gonna
got
end up
the,
where somebody thinks they're gonna put a driveway into a wetlands.
Right.
I see where he's got the property
exhaust?
owner listed, and yeah, where they're coming out.
He's got the
talking
names of
about
the
this,
property
right?
I
owners on
don't
this thing.
know, you know, where right of way ends and property lines, all that stuff, so,
What are these boxes?
but conceptually, that's a very cost-effective way to get a drain in, and, you know, a gravity drain is always preferred over, you know, a mechanical needed drain, so, you know, if there was a broken pipe in there, well, we can't do anything with it until we drop a pump in and get it going, versus it just kinda running out. So, I'd be all for that, and if you guys wanted to reconfigure it as you ran pipe, but I mean, if that was working and it was good, there's no reason to. So, I'd love to see that end up just the way it looks, but if it's, you know, obviously, like you just mentioned, if there's an issue with, if there was an issue with property lines and date where it's, you know, an exit and we wait and we do what we do in every other pit and we pump them out. So, but I guess it's the concept of it being, you know, improving all the overall conditions of these, having daylight drains would be an excellent situation, so.
So we'll talk to him about it, and then
He had a survey done of this, so if has the daylight drain going to wetlands, isn't that our property versus private property?
the wetlands is private property. The road's 40 feet wide. Here's the travel surface of the road. Look
Yeah.
how big what we own compared to the travel surface of the road.
Oh,
So I'm thinking the pipe can actually stop on our property.
And which is what he kind of shows it as doing.
yeah,
Yeah.
I see,
Yeah.
I see.
He was concerned about whether somebody would have a problem with it coming onto their property, but he doesn't even show it coming onto their property. And if we needed to put a dry well over there the size of the PRV, we will.
I guess there's always another
Solution?
fix to the problem. 'Cause I mean, the same idea is if you daylight it across the hut well, somebody's probably gonna say, you know, get water now dumping onto my property. So, here, there, or anywhere, it's gonna be, no one's gonna love it. But it's also not something we would expect to be an active drain going
No.
consistently.
Right.
So we just would need it to not get buried. But overall, yeah, I mean, it's a great, simple setup. Good access door, all the parts and pieces are there. You know, covering the bases of what we're looking for, the metering and some data control over the location, so love to see it go in. Was that approved?
Yep.
Yes.
Cool.
And so we need that drawing finalized in a bid package and get that project out.
Yep.
And people can start planning on renting or start planning on construction as soon as they can.
Cool.
Which we could pull it off while there's still snow on the ground, the roads are frozen, get it all lined up.
The prep for it, yeah.
So the contractor's ready to go and the ground's ready for them to come in.
Yep.
Other notes I have is you guys mentioned the roof on the
Summit,
summit.
yep.
We need to look at what the problem is. I was gonna go up during last Thursday's rainstorm, but the height of the rainstorm happened at like 1 o'clock in the morning and I just couldn't
Sleeping
make
still.
the call. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, wanna get that fixed. I think that we should plan on insulating that building with sprayed foam
Agreed.
after we find the leak.
Yeah,
If-
that and tightening up. I mean, I don't think the whole building needs to be thrown out. It's just, we gotta get the animal infiltration a little bit controlled and then get the foam in there. So they don't just chew right through that day one. And then, yeah, the roofing, I think is just it's just time, you know, there's some leaks in there. I couldn't tell you exactly where all of them are because it's insulated and, you know,
Wow.
it runs around and does what it does, but,
So the three of us should make a field trip during a rain in the daylight hours.
Yeah,
And,
yeah, I don't wanna get a call at 2 in the morning.
and then look at a few years ago, we had a ragtag team work on the roof, if you remember.
Uh-huh.
And I think it's time to look at that again.
Yep.
It may be a simple solution as to putting an elastomer, a paint on a rubber coating.
I mean, tar the roof, I mean, you can buy time with something like that. It's a pump house, but
And it also, it's usually white. I did it to my steel roof.
oh yeah, it is a steel roof up there, that's right.
Yeah, it's a red steel roof,
Yeah.
which takes the sun in and expands and pushes on the screws that hold it together.
Yeah, which is a
You
rubber
put the
gasket holding it.
elastomer on it, it does two things. It keeps the roof incredibly cooler, because it's white. The metal doesn't expand underneath it, and it seals up everything.
Buy some time with it, you know, why not? That's gonna be a lot cheaper than replacing an entire
If we
roof.
see what the leaks look like,
Yeah.
if it
Yeah,
needs a
depends
new
on the
roof,
size,
then
right?
we'll make that determination.
It's obviously where it's probably leaking through screw holes and it's gonna be rotted underneath there and, you know, I mean, not making the roof collapse, but it's hard to seal that once you've lost the wood, so it's,
Yeah.
The screw's not biting anything
exactly.
anymore.
So, that sounds great, I know, we'd like to see that, and then, like you said, I think if we continue that project into looking at the spray foam would be great, just to kinda, it always helps seal those buildings up a little bit.
I always wondered if we should spray the faces of the tanks.
You know, it really is amazing. I would say no. I think that they're fine. I think maybe once every X amount of years, if you care about upkeep of them, you just, you know.
Well, what I'm getting at is that the water tower now,
Mhm.
the water coming into people's houses right now is probably
Icy.
around 34 degrees.
Yeah, yeah.
Just imagine 500 houses
Colder but moving.
having to take water coming into their house at 34 degrees and raising it to shower temperature.
Right.
Multiply that times 500. Look at the cost of putting a water tower on a big hill in New Hampshire.
Sure.
It was a-
That should have been
it was a
underground.
bad- It was a bad design, but, you know, it's what we have, so.
We can't fix that right away.
We can't.
Right, and I,
But, so the water in the summer tanks is probably at 35 degrees. And we heat that room.
yep.
And we have these huge metal surfaces it's a refrigerator.
You're thinking from keeping the building temperature, not the other
Right,
way
the
around.
cost of the energy to keep the pipes that go into the tanks from freezing, which is why we heat the building.
Right?
You know what
Why
we'll have to do? We should honestly, if that's an idea that we are actually contemplating, just test the temperature of the water. Let's pull some water off them out of the tanks and see what the temperature is. Because as a rule, and I 100% understand your point here. Because I mean, as a rule, when we're kind of figuring out how much heat we need in buildings, we actually go the opposite direction. We actually figure on ambient ground temperature being XYZ, 50 degrees or whatever, and that we're going to have relatively warm water coming in and comparatively to the outside temperature coming in and out of tanks. Since our entire distribution system is fed off in an exposed tank that really relies on movement not to freeze,
Right.
then yeah, you are then refeeding the lines at 35 degree water. So
So we don't know which pipes in Ottawa is too shallow, right?
we have some idea of it, but yeah, not an exact
We
idea.
don't know where they all are.
But we know we have lines in frost.
We know that there are bleeders
Yes.
that we would like
right.
to take out someday, and I think we're still around 16 of them, somewhere around there.
But yes, they're 13, 14.
Okay, so the water, we can agree that the water comes out of the ground, the DPW well, at a little more than 50 degrees.
Yep.
And we know that the forced main that brings it to Rhinebeck to Jungfrau is 6 feet deep. Because I watched it all go in.
Yeah. No.
6,800 feet. So it comes into Jungfrau at 50 degrees. And we know the forced main that goes up to Rhinebeck, we invested in that. We know that that's 6 feet down and it stays at 50 degrees. Then we put it into this tower up in the air where it's 20 below. And we drop the temperature of that water, 120,000 gallons, we drop it from 50 to 34. And a big ice thing forms where we're not storing that much water in that tank anymore. We have this big ice cube that's going up and down every day, scraping on the inside of the tank. Then we put that 34 degree water back into the ground where we're refrigerating the pipes that are deep enough,
Yeah.
and where it's shallow, they're even more threatened to freeze without bleeders. So we run the bleeders, costing us electricity. And I thought we could actually discover where the shallow pipes were by doing thermal imaging of where the pipe shows it's too shallow. At a certain time of year when the road's still frozen, the warm water in the pipe
Like
would
now.
show us where it's shallow.
Yeah.
Well,
Believe it or not, the frost is lifting, which actually blew my mind. It's early because we had frozen lines that have thawed themselves as of like the last week. So this is early for like the thaw to actually be coming from the bottom up, but it is.
Yeah.
So
there's this phenomenon on Appinville Way at the bleeder near my house that at this time of year, it would show you where the water line is.
because it would melt the road off.
The road was melting and the water line was still
Oh,
cold enough that it
interesting.
showed you the image of where it turned off the
Wow.
main and went to the bleeder. That's where I got the idea. Maybe we can find where all these.
I mean, it's how we find leaks a lot of times in winter.
Yeah.
We wait for a light snow and then you go out right then and
Yeah.
look for
Where it's all
like a little bit of a
yeah.
thawed area. So, yeah, these things are. I mean, yeah, you're obviously going into like kind of more conventional, older thinking. That's how we used to do stuff.
Old
you know?
school?
Old school. So, but it
But it
works. I think we should have that conversation after. We'll have to wait till February of next season. We'll put a
Yeah.
ladder up there, get up into the tank, see what we've never
I
taken
want to
pictures
be there
of-
for that day.
Yeah, we've never taken pictures of the inside of the tank during the winter time. So see what the ice buildup is on the walls, see what we have going on inside of the tank, what kind of a volume loss we've had, and everything else. So
I,
we'll wait
I
for a
think the
cold
ice
spell.
cube in there is at its maximum right now.
Could be. I mean, it's been warmer as of late. So I mean, we had 50 degrees. Not that one day makes a difference, but it's been. We kind of crossed the bridge about 2 weeks.
You want to
ago.
do it before the first 50-degree day?
We can open it up and take a look at it. I can't do it today, but we can get them up there with the big ladder and get in there. We're clearing out Davis Hill on Thursday, so I can take the extension ladder right from there over to here and take a look at it. So we'll plan to do that. I'll let you know when we're heading over. To see
That'd
if
be
we can
good.
pop up. If anything changes, I'll let you know. But that'll be the plan when we leave there. As long as it goes well, we'll set up. In worst case, we'll do it Friday. So he'll have it on his truck at that point. So we'll take a gander and see what it looks like. And it may, I would assume, the temperature of the water, you know, come end of January, beginning of February is probably about as bad as it gets, just with the you
Yeah,
know,
I'd agree.
lowest temperature part of the year. But we could still pull water off the tank, directly off the tank, and do a temperature test and see where we're at, and do the same thing with Summit, and maybe do that again come the worst part of next year. And that might, you know, for a $5,000 spray foam job over the course of 10 years, it might actually be worth it. I mean, we have places that we wouldn't heat because we would, you know, some small underground pump house that had 10,000 gallon tanks. Oh, they're using 20,000 gallons a day. There's ambient water coming in all the time, and you would literally not even run heat in those buildings. So
Where would you apply the spray foam?
To the, you gotta be in the, look, we should go to the pump house, we should go to the Summit sometime this week. And I have one of these things that you
Yeah.
can point at, we could
Yeah,
point it at the
yeah.
face of the tank
See how
and
cold
show
it
you
is.
with the steel, the temperature of the
of
steel.
course, there's propane heaters running there, and those would suck up that heat. I don't know how well, but yeah, have at. I mean, see what you see, and
That's a good point, shut the heat off for a while.
Yeah, I mean, at this point
Yeah.
you can't. If you wanted to, we're not freezing at this point. So
I think the water changes over so fast that the,
that tank doesn't move that much.
Summit?
In particular, yeah, it's you know, when we don't have leaks off it, it's just pretty stagnant there.
you have this,
It's huge.
basically the wall is steel.
Yeah.
And it's being cooled by 34-degree water coming in. And in the room, you have a propane heater that's trying to keep the temperature of the room at 70, I hope. And that heat is getting sucked right into that metal wall and shipped into, it's constantly turning over. Ian's saying not as fast as Rhineac maybe, but they're fighting each other at our expense.
Yeah,
And exactly how they're doing it needs to be measured.
We'd have to, you know, the other thing is those things essentially run on pilot constantly because we got the style propane heaters we have. That's just the lowest setting that we can get them to be at. So
I see.
if you look at, you know, a couple things with those, you know, looking back at going to a vented heater, you obviously had a lot of condensation in the buildings with that. Granted, it's not the major concern when we got water coming in from the roof at the moment, but as we clear that kind of stuff out, and we can look at a heater that actually shut itself off. With the ones we have, they really don't. So even they're running at their lowest setting, I don't even allow them to kick up as things sit now. So until we, you know, as you kind of get into that, we can look at some of the different variables in it that we might want to look at changing as well.
I guess I don't know when we're gonna get to the point that we would spray the
Yeah.
roof,
Right.
but we should know whether we want them to do the tank face when they come in to do that or not.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that can be 2 trips, I guess, over
Yeah.
time. All right.
Okay.
Bristol stock, number 1 Bristol stock.
Yep.
I mentioned it earlier
I know that
today.
guy like the back of my hand, so that was great. Me and Mike we go way back. He's
The
the one that started
owner.
because he was the one that had the pressure issues.
Yes.
That kind of catapulted the project. So
So we're seeing a 25% increase in the use of electricity last month over the year before.
I'll tell you right where it's going. It's going to that leak. I mean, are you talking about system wide or from Rhineac?
From Rhineac.
It's
Yeah.
the Rhineac bill, I think.
That's what it is.
Okay.
It's undoubtedly that is literally that's 90% of the usage out of Rhineac right now is that leak.
He's a second homeowner.
He is.
He's not a full-time resident.
He is not.
So we're blowing 20,000 gallons a month, a day,
Ish.
in that ballpark.
Yep.
And his ground is frozen, which may be why you're giving him a little time.
Trying to. This is the way I would handle it with any customer.
I want you to think about this as if you're going to pay the electric bill.
I understand. This is why, as I
you
said
are.
in my email.
We're going to vote that you're
Right.
paying the electric
Yeah,
bill.
sounds good. So, you know, these decisions I make, I try to be, you know, give people, because it's the other end of that coin, right, is that there's a person with a home that we want to supply water to. As a customer of the system, understanding, you know, the hardships it puts on the system versus the cost that the system incurs in order to keep them going. So at the end of the day, that is a decision that I would stand behind 100%, whatever you guys decide to do. I told Mike we were gonna have this conversation, I think I put it in the email already, that if you guys wanted to do something different than that, I'd go
Yep.
shut it off this afternoon. You know, it's
Yep.
not, I have no issue with that, it's just, this is the way that I do this, not just with your system and any other, understanding where we're at. And I already gave him this conversation that would undoubtedly ensue, which is, yeah, I mean, it's 20% of the usage of the system, not just, you know,
Right.
Removing what we got going on at Rhineac. So it's not just your electric bill from Rhineac, it's obviously water's pumped multiple times before it gets to Rhineac. So, whatever you decide to do, I think we could work, Mike would be, he's aware that this conversation was gonna happen, and if you guys opt that you want it out now, then that's your prerogative.
I think it's reasonable to say if it's a primary homeowner, that's where they live,
Go to further lengths.
then we really can't shut them off and tell them to go to a motel until they can raise the funds to fix their own service line.
I mean, if it's detrimental to the system, we take that route, unfortunately, but we also try to find ways to find temporary water solutions for them or something, but.
So I think there's a better compromise for somebody that doesn't have to go to that house.
Yep.
If you follow what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, and
you
I
can tell me whether you agree or not.
think it should probably be shut down as soon
Yeah.
as possible. Because we're losing a lot of water and we're using a lot of electricity for a known leak.
We don't even know if he's coming to use that house.
That's true. I
Right.
do not know.
Yeah, I
He's
think it
Right.
needs to
planning
be
to be
shut
here in the
down.
next month. It's mud season, so they very well may not be intending
Right.
to, so.
And he can choose to wait until it's less costly for him to fix it.
Yep.
Because he's not having a contractor slam
And
through.
just, you guys know, I mean, I don't, unless the problem is to the point that it is clear that it is detrimental to the system and the fact that I cannot keep up with that kind of water flow, or it's eroding a road, or anything along those lines, I don't make that decision unilaterally to shut them off. I guess I keep them open
Right.
and then leave that decision to the people that are actually paying the bill and dealing with the problem to make. And that's just the way we do it. So if I can, I keep them on. Now, if I showed up there and, half of Aspen was washing away with it, it's off. Like, there's no conversation there. We move on,
Right.
Or if my tank level's losing a quarter inch of, I don't care how much it is, but if we're literally not able to maintain that water flow, we shut it off. So that's kind of our line, and then that's left in the hands of the actual customer to make that decision and deal with the. I'm happy to have any conversation with Mike and explain to him where we're at. I'm happy to. Whatever you guys decide to do, we'll do. And he's aware that this conversation was going to happen. So
I think at a higher altitude looking at this, we probably shouldn't be in a position where we need to wait for the next monthly meeting with Ian to talk about these situations, because we could have 20,000 gallons a day going for 29 days, when if we knew, we would have voted to shut that off 29 days ago and saved us a lot of water and a lot of money. Particularly if it's rational to differentiate between a full-time resident and a part-time resident that doesn't have to use the house
Right,
until they come up with a few thousand to fix their own problem.
right.
I have systems that have policy. This is where your water ordinances are important. If we have a policy in place and you say any leakage over, I don't know, pick something, 2 gallons a minute, 5 gallons a minute. I mean, it's hard for us to be 100% sure what these things are. This one's pretty clear cut from what our usage was to what our usage is. So you can put it in a policy, but my MO is to just, like I said, I think that same day I got an email out just explaining the situation, and then just,
You did.
so if all you guys want to do is just reply to the email in the specific scenario and or create a policy that, I don't know, it could be any leak is found and we isolate it. It doesn't, on a second home, and primary homes require more, however you guys want to phrase it and look at it. You're the ones that are going to get the,
Right.
you're the ones that are going to get the call from the customer that's saying, I am coming up this weekend. It's my kid's birthday. Who knows the scenario? It's it's our last ski weekend, and we pay taxes, and you guys are gonna be the ones that get that call. I'm just doing my job. That's how I throw it right back in that arena where it's like
Fine by me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I work off the I work for the people that pay my bill. So
Is the water running like normal in their home?
yes, it is, which is surprising. Well, it's not that surprising, but it's probably about a 12 gallon per minute leak.
It's
So
all
while that
pressure.
is large,
It's pressurized.
it's pressurized, and those lines can flow 100 gallons a minute. So I mean,
just-
it's
We just spent $800,000 on making sure that has plenty of pressure
plenty of pressure. So
to go right into heaven.
But so no, it's actually not that surprising that it's if it was a 50 gallon per minute leak, you'd see a drop.
Okay,
but-
so are we making a motion to
I guess
go to the curb stop and shut the water off?
you just did. It needs a second.
Second,
Further discussion? All in favor of shutting it off?
Aye.
aye.
Okay, I will by all means I will call Mike because I've
Yes.
talked to him. But you guys want to get him, or that doesn't matter. I'll have that conversation. You guys might want to send something to the customer on your end as well. But we'll shut it off today.
Notwithstanding, well, anyway, you know that wasn't that long ago, maybe month and a half, 108 Idleweiss had their whole entire water service line replaced.
Yep.
And the ground was quite frozen at that time.
No, they were fine. That was
Oh, they had a hard time getting to the curb stop.
at the curb valve, yeah.
Yeah, and it took them a while to get to the house.
Well,
My wife said,
that was a conversation I had with a customer. We looked at, I mean, you needed, at that time, it was just, we were coming into the freezing part of the year.
Okay.
They had about a foot of frost there. It was not,
Okay.
that's ground ripper.
So right now, it'd be a lot more difficult to do that, or if not, okay.
Absolutely. Just even
Yeah.
if you look at his lot, it's also on like a 25, 30 degree slope. I mean, you couldn't even get excavation equipment up there if you wanted to right now. It's nearly impossible.
So, how many weeks would he, let's say funding is not an issue for me, and he can get a crew in right away.
I
How long
typically-
does he have to wait?
Hard to say.
3
exactly.
weeks, 4 weeks?
Until the work can be done. Yeah, I mean, assuming things keep going in the way they're going and you can get the vehicles up there through road bans and whatnot, probably within the next few weeks.
Did he tell you who we might use?
We talked about it, but I told him get other pricing. So if they, like whoever, he's welcome to use whoever he'd like. So if we can get there as soon as we can. But as the customer online, they can use anybody they want. So
So you don't have their telephone number. Do we send them a letter?
I don't know if I'd have to look it up to see if I have his telephone number.
I say we just send a letter. It's
So
documented.
make a motion.
Documented in writing.
Well, most of the time we'll have an email address because
The water bill has
water
one.
bills and
Yeah.
stuff.
Right.
So I'll make a motion that we communicate to the property owner at One Business Dock that we're shutting the water off.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
3-0.
Yep. Should I ask any information as to, if he's currently looking into contractors to do the repair?
Well, he's got to notify us because we need, if he uses a third party, that the water operator has to inspect the pipe before it's
Yeah.
backfilled to make sure it's 6 feet down and a bed of sand and the proper pressure rating for the pipe. There was a,
I'd send a copy of the water ordinance with the correspondence, so they just have the bill, whatever, all the, because the other thing that has to happen, and I got probably some old pictures from his, but anytime we replace the line, we also require them to bring the whole internals up to specifications.
current
If
code.
they're missing PRV or if they're missing backflow
Backflow,
prevention or
correct,
anything
yeah.
like that, it all has
Oh,
to
I
be done
see.
before they'll
Right.
be turned back on. So just send a copy of whatever the water ordinance is specifically with the conditions of the line, with the, Mark just listed out, but it'll have, I think the ordinance has all that in there, and then also the internal, what the devices and parts and pieces are they need for that.
Yep. And
the
all
letter can
that's,
have a link on the website to this ordinance too.
Sure.
Perfect.
and all that's outlined in the ordinance.
Yep.
Last month, a house in the middle of Blendon called and said there was a water problem.
Yeah,
Last
that was
week?
the
Last month.
bleeder.
Oh,
And we get a lot of those every year. The bleeders.
It was the Hadevelt house.
What's that?
Hadevelt is the last name.
Oh yeah.
Oh, so he thought the bleeder was a leak in the line? Which technically it is, but.
I thought he had a problem at his house. Do you remember this at all?
I remember his email, that's it.
Yeah. And I never heard anything about it, so I was wondering if you actually got a work order for that. What was the story with that?
So
I sent him an email asking him what happened, and I didn't get any response, so.
the only thing, I'd have to look at that. I thought we just had a. I'd have to look at what we got back from you guys on it. I had that as the.
There is.
On my head, I have it as the bleeder is what the cause of this
Oh, really?
call was, but I don't know 100%. I'd have to.
All right.
That's the only recollection I have at the
He
moment.
certainly didn't get back to us, so
Okay.
I would think that whatever the situation was,
It was a.
it's
a
resolved.
personal
So you mistook a bleeder for a leak
issue.
in the system?
Well,
A lot of
That's,
people
I don't
do
want
that.
to.
Yeah.
I can't. That's,
He's been here a long time.
Yeah, I
don't think
agree
he
with
would.
Mark. If I knew that, but maybe that's something different that I don't have my hands into. If it was something
Yeah.
simple, Lisa took it, put somebody on it.
I
I don't
gotcha.
always know. Maybe someone
Okay.
talked to him and it was a.
Then this week, there was reports of problems at Aspen and then at Grissom. And I put it out on the fans' Facebook page that we got the reports that the water operator is looking at it. And then people were writing back, I'm on Grissom and I'm on Aspen and there's no problem, so.
Yeah, that was that Sunday night.
That we were over here.
Yeah.
Do you know when this
I
was?
don't know anything about this.
In the last few days.
Okay,
I don't
so
know anything about this.
if this will actually, this can streamline into that conversation about the alarms and a couple other things. So It was Friday night that I think.
Friday night,
There was
okay.
no
Yeah,
time.
so it was
we might be-
Saturday,
Yes,
those calls that I was getting.
Yep.
It wasn't Sunday.
So you
Yes.
came in and saw them when you were
Saturday.
prepping, but we had got them Friday night.
Correct.
So
Right.
let's start with the way the call system is working right now. It goes to the sheriff's office, and I am notified by them every time how they do not like that. So they said,
What?
listen, this is, I'd love for you guys, I say, listen, I'm a subcontractor, you guys, I don't know what the agreement is, I don't know what the situation is, but I will let the commissioner board know that you guys are expressing your disappointment with it coming through 911. So that is, this is my official, I'm letting you guys know, the operators are not happy with it down in Ospey with those calls going through 911. Okay, moving past that. So, system was on, I don't know if somebody went in and actually reset the computers or whatnot, but we did have access to log me in, which was great, so we could see what was happening. But I'm guessing with the power outage or something, it was the DPW VFD tripped or something. I'm not sure. That's actually like the second time that's happened in the last, I think I talked with you maybe 2 or 3 months ago. We had another trip on it. There was I don't know if there was a power outage or not that I'm aware of, but maybe there was a blip.
This is the VFD that controls the well?
Yes, and it was on an over amperage. So I think we had that conversation last meeting about we're at the 7-year mark since that pump was replaced.
Yep.
Probably start to think about, and now we've had 2 occurrences where I've had over amperage on it. This one lines up with a known power outage with the whole world, getting knocked out that night or that day. So that could very well, I don't try to draw correlations until there is one. So it's because I had it happen twice in 3 months. This is not unexpected to have, controllers trip when you have power surges and great, brown power and stuff like that. So tripped out. We had no notification from the system of that going on. We lose water out of Jungfrau in like 30 minutes. I mean, it's pumping at 140 gallons a minute out of a 5,000 gallon tank up to Rhinex. So it doesn't take long at all to drain that tank out. We have it cut out at I think 30 inches or 36 inches. So we leave the bottom 3 feet of the tank available because it's also a bleed tank for X amount of houses, 10, 15 houses actually are fed off that. So it ran out pretty quickly. We got the first call from whoever it was. We actually tried calling the number and we got a number was disconnected. So either that was we got given the wrong number, or I don't know, they gave the wrong number, who knows. But it was pretty immediately evident what was going on. We just weren't moving water from DPW to Jungfrau. So, the alarm system, that is its greatest feature to us. I mean, they'll log me in and the fantastic, we can operate pumps, we can do a lot with that, but knowing about the issue before it's become an issue is really the cream of the crop with that system, is getting that. We don't have to wait until a homeowner's, that's like the old days, you wait till the homeowner's calling, hey, I got no water, and then you go in blind and hope you can figure out what's going on. We're well past that, because we're not going in blind. I pulled up Log Me In and saw that on the pump and
Right.
saw that I wasn't moving water from DPW and said that power outage, this is exactly what it is. We knew we had a pretty good idea of what we were walking into. So we're certainly past the old days, but it is really nice. I know we have the system capable of it. We used to get it all the time. So just getting that alarm dialer back to function, even if it's an email or I don't care what it is. It doesn't even have to be the phone line, but just some notification saying low tank or low temp or low whatever, power outage, or we'd get all this stuff, bad comms. It would just give us that indication so we knew.
So you're not getting any of that stuff?
No, and more. I mean, this would have been a problem that was solved before it was ever a problem. We would have got a low tank after it hit 50 inches.
Right.
Somebody would have been over there and
Yep.
get the pump up and running, and no one would ever known the difference. So would have just done it in,
Yep.
So anyway, just it's been lingering for a while with that dialer not working. So I'd like to. I know you guys. I think you guys have it kind of tied in with the computer getting replaced, maybe.
yes. Yeah, and I'm wondering if it's not something with the dialer, the program that does the dialer.
Yep. The Win 911.
Because that is now a for pay,
Gotcha.
and we're still on the old system,
So it's not even compatible.
So I'm not sure if
This
that
dates back to,
might be part of what's going on with this.
There was some communications, and I mean, I don't want to misrepresent what happens. I can't really remember, but this goes back actually a couple of years when there was like a pretty big overhaul in that office done. And for me, you know, I mean, they changed kind of everything that was going on in that office, and this has not worked since then. So, yeah, it could just be a cable.
Okay, it could be something
I have
inside.
no idea.
Could be an internal.
Could just be a mechanical.
It's gone this long.
Plug something in. I don't know, but it's.
Wow.
And I want to assume it correlates with that exactly, but it's like obviously we didn't know until the first emergency we got after that. But it was first
Right.
time something
Right.
happened after that work was done. We weren't notified
Yeah.
of it, so it might have been a few months down the road. But it's like, hey, has anything happened over there? Yeah, we got it and changed all the wiring in this office. Oh well, that's it. We're not getting alarms anymore.
Yeah.
And I know somebody looked at it since then, and it just never cropped back up. But even without the Win 911, which I don't know if the email system is connected to that, but we used to get an email and a phone call. So
Yes.
the phone call we'd get where we could actually acknowledge the alarms, which doesn't really matter. We don't need that. Just an email popping through saying, that there's an alarm active is good enough.
This is way too long for the alarm system not to work.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
So
Yeah, and it could be internal in the office.
And we don't even know it.
Who's gonna fix it?
Tom's gonna have to
Get
come in and
Tom
fix
to
it.
come in to test it, I guess.
I might have to start saying EII. I think Tom might have actually. he
Looked
might
at
have-
it already?
Well, no, he may have retired. I think
He did not.
He did not.
I talked
Okay.
to him last week.
Okay. I haven't talked to him in a while, so we've been seeing different people on some of the
Oh,
jobs
really?
he used to come to. So.
I see.
Yeah. Look at
Well, they
these-
had
Tom's got it.
staffing.
We'd like to see someone come on our job.
Yeah,
Yeah. Have you guys been trying to get them?
yeah,
Yeah.
Gotcha.
for the new computer.
Gotcha.
And we keep getting pushed back because of staffing issues on their end for a couple people left and they didn't, they weren't able to get the computer in and set up and so it's kind of been on hold for, well, a couple
while
months now.
Okay.
So when should we change the pump out at DPW1?
I think that we look at spring, and I don't know if you want to get the original contract. I mean, we might as well get a couple prices on it. I mean, Hartley's familiar with it. You guys have the original installer that I think you have maybe some relationship with. or-
DL Ma was sold.
Okay, so
And
it doesn't really matter then. I think just anybody with a crane truck. I mean, we could have Tasker and Hartley come look at it. Local guys that we would want to be.
Was the issue
available.
with the size of the crane that they have?
The issue was I couldn't get anybody to come out and do it.
So if we had somebody with a crane, because now there's tree companies that have these enormous cranes.
Yes, and I would say that I work for one of them. It's terrible work. I wouldn't suggest it. But I want a well guy to do it. It's a 25 horsepower pump, or don't hold me to that. 20 or 25 horsepower pump. My license doesn't cover pump installation over 5 horse for deep well. So realistically,
Yeah.
we ought to have a pump installer be the one that's going to come and do that. And if you're going to get somebody on call, it's going to be a pump installer, not a tree company that's gonna. I shouldn't be that short, but definitely would rather have those guys are all equipped for it. Any of those, J.D. Thomas, Pat Tasker, they're all equipped for it. The problem was the last failure we had. If I called somebody right now, I'd probably get them no problem. It was literally like vacation week. It was freezing out. Everybody was like, nah.
It's the worst
nah.
time.
So if we plan it now, we're better off.
And I think that we get at least some hope towards, hey, you guys installed this for us 5 years ago, we're having a problem, can you come look at it? Versus just a shot in the dark, somebody that's never, I mean, I work with Hartley a lot, but they don't idolize anything, you know what I
No,
mean?
right.
So it's like having people that, and like I said, I don't care who it is, but it's like whoever we get over here, that they did the work. Maybe within 5 days, we could have an expectation of getting them on the hook to
And
come
they might
do their
prefer
work.
it to be planned versus an emergency call.
Ideally,
Do something like that.
ideally.
Right.
Anybody would.
So let's decide now that we're gonna do it after the bleed is shut off
Okay.
and before the second homeowner population rises.
And there should be very little, we actually can make it as long as, so if we
We're
do
gonna be
it,
able to do it without anybody losing water?
so if we do this during, because the system will have to be offline for a short period of time while we coordinate, ideally, if this is a non-emergency, we don't want to go on a boil order, so we'll take it offline. We would have to run off Muddy Beach, so we'd have to have, so in order to not have a disturbance from this, whether that be an outage and or a boil order or something, a precautionary boil order, we would have to run off Muddy Beach, and then we would actually set up a backfill back into Jungfrau, because that's to feed backwards. And as long as we're using 60,000 gallons a day or something, if we plan it so it's on a Monday, Tuesday, we can have it chlorinated, flushed, sampled by end of week and have DPW back up and running. So
So that brings us to Muddy Beach. Has Muddy Beach been tested since we stopped using it in November? Do we know of any?
I'm not sure. The lab actually called. I actually have to arrange with her because she would not have taken the routine Q1s yet. We got, you know, whatever day, we'll have 20 days. But I wanted to go over with her and flush it and make sure it was nothing, you know, because we have valves off and we have system off. So I want to make sure we do that with her, just to kind of operate it as, just get the wells running to waste essentially, so there's not overflowing the system or whatnot. But they're going to be in the next 2 to 3 weeks. That'll be tested.
So that'd be interesting.
It's-
They've been sitting there.
They have been. So it's going to be, that was part of, what would you guys prefer? It literally makes, would you rather me run those to waste for an hour just to get water moving through them? Or essentially run the water at a minimal clip to see what it's like after it's been stagnant for a while?
Well, I'm picturing if that site hasn't been used since November 26th, then the water in the well, and the water in the tanks, and the water in the lines coming from the well to the tanks all have November water in them.
Essentially.
So to get a sample, you want to not use any of that water and pump that out.
I mean, the wells, you know how it is. It's essentially, it's a passing source. So, I mean, we would flush for a minimum of 10 minutes or something in order to get fresh water coming up through the pipelines, which would be fresh water from the source. But it is still a high demand, high yield well that hasn't been moved much. So we could also set it up and just flush it out the door for an hour and, you know, just let it run, you know. So whatever preferences. I mean, we would have a minimum runtime to know that we're getting fresh water from the well itself, from the pump at the bottom,
Yeah.
not what's sitting in the pipeline.
Right.
But
If we're heading towards changing the pump at DPW1 and needing to take water from Muddy Beach during that process,
we want to know what we got.
we probably don't want to use the water that's in the tank. So that needs.
Nor would we.
We need to flush that.
Yep, that would happen anyway, but I would do that a week before we're getting ready to do the
To run it,
DPW
yeah,
project.
get it.
Which doesn't mean I can't do it now, just in case, but
And what's bothered me about our decision process was one key thing, which was a lot of our decision to try to decommission that. And we learned from the state that we need to keep that registered as an active well. And we need to keep testing it. It needs to be available for a circumstance in emergency, like we're heading towards under our plan to take DPW1 down for a day, hopefully.
3 days
3 days.
minimum.
One of the things that bothered me is that I didn't get a good picture. And Nick was saying during all this, if the expense of disposing of the uranium, if we filtered it at at Muddy Beach, could be lowered by back flushing it.
So-
And I should have asked more detail.
You can't do that because you guys don't have a community. So the only time you can backwash it without you can't clean it. So you can't bring brine into it, which would remove the uranium and strip whatever uranium you captured back off. Like that's what we do in residential systems.
After you filtered it, the backwash has a brine secondary.
Not in, so for residential, yes, you can actually. It's an anion exchange process that grabs up the uranium, and you actually bring in brine water, and you kind of release that uranium back off it and recharge the anion with the brine, and then you backwash that right out to your septic, right? So you collect the uranium from your well water and you push it out to your septic. And from the state's perspective, what you're taking in, you're putting right back out, and that's fine. They don't have a problem with that.
For residents.
For residents, when you become a community water, like you guys, if you had a community sewer, you could do it. Obviously, we do not. So, because in that sense, they say everything you're collecting from the community, you're putting back to the community as a whole, right? That's not what you guys are doing. You guys, so there is no application. Now, you can put in a little dry well out back, and you can backwash it, which would be suggested, so that it doesn't get caked up with, you know, iron or whatever. You just want to have the opportunity to flush out what's in there, but that doesn't flush out the uranium. That just keeps the surface, that keeps your surface of the equipment from getting plugged up with debris. So your uranium would be captured. It would be captured in that tank and would have to be hauled out with those tanks, never to be discharged back out. So unfortunately, there is no application for you guys that we could discharge the uranium, which is the only way you can extend the actual lifespan of that.
So I wonder why Nick was saying that.
he was maybe just talking about a backwash, instead of just having straight, like, I'm doing a system right now that has no backwash, it's what they call upflow head, so the water comes in the bottom of the tank and up through the media to kind of lift the media up. Uranium removal over in Conway. They've got 6 3 cubic foot vessels in a row to do this, and you know, that's one approach. They're a relatively small system. Those tanks will last them about 10 years. About $25,000 to get rid of them. That's why they've got one row of them sitting in the pump house waiting to be addressed already.
25,000 a month?
No. Like when they have to exchange their tanks and get them hauled off, it's about $500 a cubic foot of media plus $500 to $700 a cubic foot plus like $3,000 or $4,000 for the company to come up from Connecticut that collects it. So they do a test on it. It could be, you know, if it's not quite used up, it's cheaper per cubic foot if you have less uranium in it, right? So they base it off how much uranium your media tests positive for.
So we did make a mistake by not examining one of the facts of this in more detail. You're telling us now
No,
that
yeah, no,
we
you
need
did.
to hit Nick to tell us more about this.
The other option is that you have a downflow system where the water goes down through the media, but what happens with that is it presses the media down, and you want a backwash to just
Fluff
lift
it
it
up.
back up and push out standard debris. It doesn't remove the uranium, it just, so if you went with a downflow system, you'd want to have a backwash, or you'd look at going with upflow, which depending on the clarity of your water, the better the water quality, the more likely you are
I
to
see.
be
You
able
could
to-
put, if we put a uranium system in the Muddy Beach pump house, we might have a backwash system to backwash things that aren't uranium.
Exactly.
I get you. Sand.
Exactly,
Minerals.
sediment, silt, whatever. You would
Stuff that
ideally
makes the
have.
toilets leak.
Yeah, right. You would ideally have an upflow system and capture whatever little bit of debris, and even like bag filters or something like that to just, it would reduce the cost of it and you know, the installation costs and everything.
I'm
So
glad we had this discussion because that bothered me. That I didn't
don't let it
ask
bother you.
Nick-
You got your ducks in a row. It's still not a terrible solution over there, right? I mean, you guys, it just like I say, we've gone over the limitations of Muddy Beach versus DPW, and
Right.
you know, for your short term, yeah, it's something you guys could look at. Maybe you'd have a 5-year span to consider something different.
Well, we did get the warrant article for the engineering for
DPW.
DPW two.
Excellent.
Or W, yeah, B.
B, well be.
Will be,
So-
See, what
set, so
bothers
we'll
me
be
is it
working on
might be a
that.
few years before we get that well in.
So, with that conversation, maybe it's not insane to have upflow equipment installed over at Muddy Beach by yourselves. We still use it, so you'd only have the one well that has high uranium. You could even treat to, this would be options for you guys as commissioners. Some places treat to minimum standards, like 20, and then blend with a secondary source in order to maintain below, or you could just let 100% of the water go through it, remove all the uranium, and obviously this is just a bed life calculation, right? How long does this media last us, and what are we putting out for quality of water? But it would buy you, if we kept that as a secondary source and just ran it at an absolute minimum of 5% of our water just to keep fresh water in the tanks and stuff like that, buy you a long time. It would keep the source active, and if and when you put it on, you'd be confident that you don't have uranium in it, and this would buy you the years of time to look at exploring DPW situation. And that's, I think, the initial cost of installing the equipment. You know, say you guys need 5 cubic foot vessels or something. While it's expensive in the grand scheme of costs, it's not. If you get away with upflow equipment, I mean, probably a 2-day install, and I think the media is somewhere around $300 a cubic foot. So I don't know. Say you're $1,500 in media, another $1,000 in equipment, and 2 days in labor. It's not. You're not talking about a massive cost. The problem is you have this recurring cost every time,
Yeah.
and it's not just the media that you replace; it's the cost of the disposal, which is
Right.
really the
Yeah.
associated cost.
Right, if we need to cover the cost of disposing it for 2 years to get DPWB in there, then
Yeah.
get out of the
I
business
think
of.
one
Right.
install and one disposure of it, and you've probably got yourselves covered while you're developing DPW.
You say Conway precinct?
It's over on Davis Hill. It's just everywhere I have over there has uranium.
Davis Hills and South Conway.
Yeah, I
Kinda,
guess
right?
whatever. It's Center Conway.
So what precinct is it?
It's not precinct. It's a
Private?
yeah, about 50 home development.
Because I'd like to see one of these things to get a picture of exactly.
I mean, it's a.
We're gonna fit 5 or whatever these things are into the Muddy
These
Beach
ones
room?
stand probably about 16 inches around and about 4 feet tall. Yours would be probably, this would just be, all that really matters is how much flow you can put through it. So you're not basing the amount you put in based off how many cubic feet you really want of media. You're doing it based off how big around and how tall they have to be to take the flow of the well that it's receiving. So I think we put about 25 gallons per minute through those units. You guys would be at like, I want to say you're about 40 out of the well that has uranium. I don't hold me to that. But it's somewhere in that ballpark. So maybe you could do the same, could be the same setup. I don't know. There's a downflow too, and I mean, ideally you'd be upflow. You can do a lot more water volume going upflow. So that would be something for maybe Nick to look at. But yeah, undoubtedly we have plenty of room in that building as is to fit it.
So, should we do this whole short-term uranium solution before we change the pump at DPWA?
Let's test it and see where you guys are at, and maybe even after your official testing, we can just go and flush water for, as he's doing checks, set up the
Wouldn't that
hose
be
outside.
nice? The uranium problem is
Resolves itself.
down back to
If it's down back below levels.
It's by no means impossible. I mean, you guys certainly
Yeah.
spiked up with that. You guys saw the same thing everybody else saw. Some people have come back down, some people haven't, but that, it's called the resurgence of our aquifer a year and a half ago or whatever it was at this point, almost 2 years ago, when that spring we had where that spring and summer where it just rained constantly after 7-8 years of drought.
Right.
It looked like almost like people went in and fracked wells. It was like all of a sudden stuff they'd never seen before was showing up. Water qualities that they had never had. So it's like they got new fissures coming in when we had that huge resurgence. Some people have tabled back off and gone back to what they were previous to that. Some people are living with the new water qualities they had.
Yeah.
people aren't gonna like hearing that we're back to using Muddy Beach.
No.
The other
Especially
option I
not without
have-
some type of mitigation for the uranium.
Even then,
I get significantly less uranium, obviously, out of one pump than I do the other.
I know.
I think the problem is the pump that I get less uranium is set much higher. That's, of course, as you go deeper, the likelihood of uranium increases. So I think it's the higher up pump, and we are more limited with our production out of that one. But if we could time this into low usage, and I could kind of get that going only off the source that is known to not have uranium, I could try to run the system like that and just
And
wait
then
for an alarm to
test.
show up that we're getting low tanks or something and see. I do that a month before we're intending to do the work, so I have a kind of a game plan for what we're into.
Yeah.
I might find out after 2 days I can't keep up. I might find out after 7 days we're still hanging around pretty decent. I don't know the answer to that.
so do we need to get a handle on new information about what Muddy Beach is doing right now before we rev up Hartley with a schedule to say we'd like to have you come out at this point in, say, May?
If you want to give me a little bit of a carte blanche on figuring out some stuff over there, 4 to 8 hours worth of labor and testing to flush stuff, test stuff, just run the system without going into it. It's still an active system for you guys. You're under no obligation. You do what you want. You can notify your public that you're using it as a primary source or something. But before I make any of those decisions, you guys will know what I'm doing. But I'll find out what I have for water qualities coming out of those wells again currently, and let you know, hey, if I'm only getting 2 parts out of the better well, or the well that I know I don't have uranium or very limited uranium, I can then put that into practice and just try to run our system off it and see what we get. Obviously, we'll get the leak and piston stock taken care of. We'll get we'll be working on a low yield, as low usage as we can possibly get to. But yeah, I think with some pretty short hours, I can get a lot more information that I can then put in your hands, so we know I can answer the question: what should we do next? Do we want to put the treatment in? Do we want to let it rip the way it is? Do we want to whatever?
Right.
Keep it running.
Yeah.
We need that information to do good planning on.
All right.
So we need that information before we swap out the pump at
Definitely
DPW.
before then.
Before we even
definitely.
Before we even set up
Before we
temporary
even-
for that, yeah.
Yeah, before we even contract.
Right.
Muddy Beach.
But I have a question. Are replacement pumps readily available for
No.
our DPW one?
We have
That's-
one.
Yes, ours is.
We already have one
You
sitting
saw
in
it,
the box.
yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
I'm just okay.
It's readily available for us because we buy it because we know it's not readily available.
We'll need to
so.
Right.
order another one,
Right, as soon as this one goes in, we'll be ordering a new one.
or before.
Oh, yeah,
I would say before, because this one's been sitting in a box for how many years?
That's fine.
Does it get tested out before it goes in the ground?
No, fingers crossed, it's not bad out of the box. What do you? I mean, the good news is, let's say you do that. The biggest beauty in what we're doing here is that we're not replacing a failed pump. Let's say
Right.
that through some extraordinarily unlikely scenario, this pump doesn't work
pump
because it's
doesn't
not very.
go back
I mean,
in.
obviously the motor's been bench tested.
Yeah.
It's a large enough motor that it would have been bench tested, but it hasn't been connected to the pump and put into an application and worked. It's just been they've shown
It's
that
been sitting in a box for years and years and years, so
Yeah.
that's my concern.
But that's been the case. The pump that's in there now is the exact same.
Last
Not
time
that I'm
it
saying
worked
that's a good
perfect.
thing. Don't get.
Had an
Yeah.
It
early
worked
life,
absolutely perfect
exactly the
last
same.
time.
It sat in the box in Idlewild before.
Yep.
it got
You're
done.
not wrong that that's not an ideal situation to have a motor sit for 10 years before using it, but at the same time, it's the best. It's the best
Right.
solution that we have.
It might even be better to store it vertically.
Yeah, I mean, I think the last time we did, we built it and we stored it. Maybe that's how you wanted to store it. I don't recall, but
Because I remember that DLMA was saying, this thing has to be plumb. You don't want it coming in at an angle, living its life at an angle.
when it's like in operation, because everything would have an issue with that. But I mean, half the pumps they make nowadays are, well, actually it was very common, horizontal turbine versus vertical. I mean, vertical's a relatively new thing, but it's not well pumps, but
The idea is slant drilling off of Idlewild property underground.
that's what they're talking about doing.
Well, that would be a pretty nice option if we had to someday. Right under 113,
Temporary potential site.
near the entrance sign.
Sounds like fracking.
Yeah,
Close
With
to
the-
it.
with the
We're all
horizontal
sand
drilling.
though over here, under waste and.
well, boy, a lot of information here.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's what it's kind of. So
we need
let
a
me
motion to let him get the data from Muddy Beach.
keep it like that, and then I'll get you back some
Right.
gainful information.
Okay, so if it comes back and we're still having a uranium problem, then we have to look at this short-term interim remediation of it before we swap out the pump at DPW well A. Okay,
Which gets us into concrete floors and making sure that the power design in the building can handle new equipment
Good news
going
is, I
in.
believe that was upgraded service when we did it, so that's good.
I think it will cover it.
Shouldn't be there should be minimal to no power needs. If we're talking about Muddy Beach, there should be minimal to no power needs over there for that. And in lieu of digging out the floor and doing all of that, knowing that might be a building that's getting abandoned in a few years, let's just put a pad in. I hate to add to the. You can
Right.
pour around that pad too. I mean, if we put equipment in and we do it properly with rebar, and that can be something that could be left. Even if you do opt to keep the building, you could pour right around the pad. So I don't think we need to turn it into anything that for the moment, let's plan to keep it minimalistic and get.
let's cross that
Goal.
bridge when we come to
Yeah,
it. Let's
goal-
keep our
goal
fingers
accomplished.
crossed that the Muddy Beach will come up.
We don't have to
reasonable.
start the concrete floor until you
Let's
have
see.
the data.
Let's see where we are.
Okay.
Muddy Beach, well sampling, temporary potentially run to waste.
And we'll ignore we have a communications problem because if we have to, we'll run it manually for the 3 days we're doing DPWA pump. Because
It
it's not
can't-
reliable.
Yeah. I mean, you could essentially set that thing to run full bore, and it's not gonna. It'll
Need it all.
barely keep up. So run to
So
waste and test.
you had
flow.
mentioned it a couple seconds ago. Do we need a motion to have
Yeah.
Ian do this?
Yes.
All right, make the motion that Ian pursue and check out Muddy Beach for potential
Water testing,
water
quality.
testing and quality.
I'll second that.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
3-0.
Okay.
Now, does it mean that the water's going into the system?
No, it does
Nope.
not.
It's-
Everything I will do will not be entering the system yet.
Right.
Right, so
I will let you guys know if the time comes. It looks like we can
It's all
put it
Yep.
on.
Yeah,
Yep. And
Yeah.
that you guys will know what the characteristics are of the water before I do
Yep.
that. Money Beach will send me to resources run the waste and test well meter comes under bill. Use every day. Well 2, well uranium, well 1 current uranium levels. All right. I don't think that covers my bases. Did you guys have?
I think we just went over everything.
Yeah.
So we'll correlate this with, so you guys will have this information in the next 2 weeks or so, because we're gonna correlate this with dealing with Holly from the Granite State. And so when we're flushing and we're doing all this, we'll have her come take her samples.
Oh, yeah.
Do all that, that'll be around to the sampling, and I would just say maybe during checks, which are Tuesdays, and we'll do maybe Mondays, Thursdays for the foreseeable future goal, so that way we can flush the waste while he's doing checks and pull sample and deliver them to the lab, if we have any questions on, you know, the condition of the water. So we'll run that a couple times, and amongst other things, once we get that information back, I'll be able to tell you when, if and when we're gonna try to use Muddy Beach as the temp setup, so. Okay, I don't think I have you seen much come in for building lots this year? Nothing really on the docket. I mean, obviously routine stuff, flushing, bleeder shut-offs, all that'll happen. I mean, we'll probably have another meeting before that occurs. So we typically just wait until things aren't under, even if it's not frozen anymore.
Yeah.
We don't push the envelope. We push 2 weeks later than 2 weeks early, and potentially some of your lines are only 2+ feet deep. So we don't want to. We don't want to jump the gun too bad and try to shut those off too early. But I know we're all anxious to get the bleeders stopped. So as soon as that is practical and we're confident the frost is kind of lifted out of the ground, we'll get that shut down. And if we, and like I said, just routine flushing, and yeah, we'll look for some of this other stuff coming through on the PRV pit and stuff like that, the Bergdorf extension. And I will touch base with you for Thursday or Friday to come and poke guys in that tank if you'd like to see it.
Cool.
I haven't seen it, so, I mean, not this in 3 years, 4 years, so whatever, however long it's been, so.
This Friday, I definitely could do it.
Nick will
Okay, I can see
choose
that.
what kind of PRV gets installed on the bypass of the Como.
Yeah, I mean, this is.
You don't need to spec it.
No, we could steal the PRV from the old one, honestly, if we wanted to.
Okay.
They're just to have something that if and when we're servicing that other equipment, we're not, because
Right.
I would lean towards shutting them off than using an un-PRV'd line,
Right.
because you guys know, we don't want to send
Well,
150
take-
PSI to people that don't have it.
First thing I thought of is we'll take the one out of the new Riggy and put the same thing we're putting into Como at Riggy.
There you go.
But using the one that's already at Como works too.
Yeah, as we finish it and go over that one, we'll steal that one and put it on the bypass line. So that can be a temporary bypass, and then, you know, hopefully we're not needing it. So.
If we fix the leak in the roof at the summit, do you need to put a humidifier in there like you talked about last time?
Not immediately, but you guys would see, there's a good building example that, I think as a rule, yes, especially if you spray foam too. I think it's a pretty open building now, so you fix the leaks, you know, rubberize it, fine. It's still got, you got pores in that building, you know, it's gonna breathe a little bit. If you get into the concept of, you know, we're spray foaming, we're really tightening that building up, there's nowhere for that humidity to go. So, or that condensation and all that gets built off that propane. So, we would definitely want a dehumidifier at that point. But as is now, enough little leakages in that building, the concrete comes into concrete, leaks a little bit out of the pumps, comes from the roof. I mean, it's not the driest building to start with, so.
We had a Google type device that the DPW used to have that they didn't use. I'm not forgetting that he wants some kind of internet connection device down in the corrosion control room so that he can get to the SCADA system. Can we use what's...
It'd be a LAN cable from coming upstairs, you know.
We had a line, didn't we? From upstairs,
The only way you
from
can hook in,
upstairs to
that I'm aware
downstairs?
of, and maybe have Tom take a look at this, or whoever comes from EII, they would hook in through the PLC and then into their laptop, which I don't want to get into that. I don't want to go through the PLC every
Okay.
time I'm hooking in. And I think that was for like programming and stuff. So I may be way off base, but I don't know, maybe Wi-Fi, the signals are not great in that building to start with. So
Right.
a LAN cable coming from a splitter upstairs down
Yeah.
to the buildings. I don't know where that, I think it lines where you guys are pretty well up above us, so.
It is.
Exactly above it.
Drill a hole in and drop me a LAN down, 40-foot LAN cable, we're done.
Right.
So,
Okay, we can look into that.
$30. Real quick, I can get you guys a hole in that floor, no problem. All right, so I have a couple little things we'll be working on. Let me know if we got any questions on anything, but I'll just keep an eye out for some of those projects you guys have coming up, and cool. And as far as, you know, like that thing with Jeff, I think that's great. But yeah, and you know, you guys are always, like I said, we are able to knock some cost off the daily jobs over there by not having a additional people with that. So if it ever doesn't make sense for you guys, or, you know, there's times the road crew's too busy to help us, which I hate those days, but when they are,
Sure,
we have
it's
to haul
the
our own
middle
stuff
of the
in.
night or the
Oh,
holiday
yeah, yeah, I mean,
weekend,
there's any
or,
application,
you know,
it's
yeah.
possible, but, for the most part, those guys are, we try to schedule it out and they're available, and it's a huge knockoff, I mean, especially on the finish of the job, with them showing up with their front end loader, is just like, you know, done. So, that's been good, but if at any time you guys have, you know, we wanna look at doing it, you know, not tying those guys up if you're short-staffed or whatever, you just let me know, or whatever the scenario is. We just bring more equipment down to, you know, obviously us running to and from like Coleman for material is a far longer and more costly
Yeah.
adventure than having your loader show up with a, you know, 2 yards on the front end of it. So, round, it's definitely a cheaper way of doing it. We pay by minimum loads, and it's a, you know, and you get an hour, I mean, it's about an hour and a half to get to and from.
Yeah.
Coleman's, once you get through the scales and out to the pit to get loaded, and it just can really
Add up.
drag the time out. So, it's a very good situation, and as long as it works for you guys, we certainly like it, so. All right,
So do you wanna wait to hear from me on the Bristol stuff, or?
I will call Mike when I
All
leave.
right.
I mean, I would say, unless you guys
Yeah.
want me to wait for whatever reason, I'll give him the update, and, if you guys can just send him the official correspondence from the office in whatever
Yep.
capacity, that's, I'll tell him you'll be expecting to see that, and to
Okay.
Very good.
ratchet it up. Go from there.
Okay.
All righty?
Thank you.
Thank you guys, appreciate it.
Enjoy the nice day.
Yes,
I know,
got
the
it.
sun's out.
On the road, I'm driving to New Hampton, so
Ah,
I'll crack the windows. Thanks, guys.
see ya. Okay, so at 10:47,
Seven.
we'll move to administrators report. There's actually a number of things written on there.
Yeah.
Take it away.
Well, I know Dinah's not here, but I wanted to talk about getting these Bank of New Hampshire accounts closed.
Yes. I'll make a motion that Jennifer and
Dinah.
close these accounts.
Dinah does it.
Yeah.
And move the balances to Northway?
Yep, so obviously the operating one would go to operating
Mm-hmm.
Right.
to Northway. The other one is that water project, specifically called water project.
Correct, and
The
if
Rhineac
there,
project.
if there is any remaining funds that have not been expended on that, at this point, that project has been closed. So therefore, it would be like going into the unassigned fund balance, which means it would go into the water assessment.
So we make a motion to move that money into the water assessment fund?
Yeah,
I'll make that motion that we move it into the water assessment fund. For
second.
discussion and approval.
All right.
Yeah, it
You already
did,
voted
Yeah.
3-0 on moving that money to the water assessment fund
yeah.
from the Rhineac tank project or the water project.
Yeah,
Yeah, and Dinah is the one that will actually deal with the,
Yeah.
going to the bank to close these accounts.
While we're on the topic of BNH, Bank of New Hampshire, you might have seen a copy of the email I sent to
Yes,
Primex?
Primex saying that we think that we may be sending them a check for overpayment on the cyber theft
Yes.
reimbursement. And
Let's wait till the check clears up.
Jennifer got it to the bank on Friday afternoon.
Uh-huh. We have the slip.
Make sure it clears.
So I think I need to get the exact numbers
Insurance
of the
company.
two ACH, the 14,
You do, you have a copy of the bank statement.
yeah, in an email, yeah.
Yeah,
When I sent it, I decided not to spell out the numbers, just to
I gotcha.
get on the record with them that we think that.
we're
Yeah.
thinking that we
That you
might,
should look
And
at it.
yeah,
that's
I-
exactly what you sent them too.
I said to
was
them
the
that
bank
you have these numbers because
Yeah.
we sent you the bank
We did.
statements.
Yeah.
So,
so we'll see what they
see
say.
them react on that.
Yep.
Watch how fast they move on this.
I was shocked.
I think what I want to tell them is, we need the same year that you took to get us the check.
Yeah, interest.
Mark,
So
a
flip.
quick question on the bank. Have you received material from Northway about the merger with Camden?
Yes.
Yeah, they sent a packet.
Okay, good.
All set on B&H?
Mm-hmm.
Water user fees. I'll make a motion that we set the 2025 water user fee to $525.
Second.
Discussion.
We've already discussed it.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
3-0. 525, down from 550.
When can I start invoicing?
May 1st.
Thank you.
No, it's due May 1st.
Oh, it's gotta be April 1st.
Oh, okay, so it's gonna be April 1st. I'm off a
you.
month.
All
If
right.
she has the opportunity to begin earlier, why wouldn't she? If you saw
Mhm.
an opening that you'd like to fill with getting ahead on the invoicing.
Well, I'd like to get an updated some way so I can kind of update the QuickBooks Water
Mhm.
with the new owners that I was never notified about, things of that nature.
So does that mean you need to do some work on QuickBooks before you actually start sending the
Oh,
first
yeah.
invoices out?
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you don't want to, you don't see a need to start sending them out before April 1st?
No, I want to get the list from, what, Madison?
Yes.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
make sure the mailing list is as accurate as possible before
Huh?
the bills
I
go
got it
out.
last week, I can send it to you.
Okay, great. That would be very helpful.
Also on water user fees?
Mhm.
Then under C, you have payroll, first quarter payroll, second quarter payroll.
Yeah, we need to talk about payroll. Who's gonna be doing payroll? Are we continuing with?
Okay, so you're, this is here to align the executive payment with one of the employee payments to keep price costs down if we switch over to ADP?
No,
Is that
no,
what
it's
that's for?
just, it's because we need to do it at the end of the quarter.
Oh, okay. All
So
right.
I'm telling you, when the first quarter period ends, when the last pay period ends, and when the new quarter should begin, to align it with the new payroll company, if
And you would
that's
like
what
to do
we're
this
doing.
as soon as possible.
Yeah.
I wanna do it in this time frame. Otherwise I'm gonna tell you, we're gonna wait till next quarter to do
Right.
it.
She
So
said
you
all
need,
along.
you want to vote to approve doing this? Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah,
I'll make a motion that we approve switching the payroll companies against the dates that Jennifer has on this agenda.
Second.
do we
Right.
know what company?
We're
you-
going to ADP, right?
ADP.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
What's her name, Monica? Just talk to her. I know you've been in touch with her all
Yeah.
along anyway, so.
Yeah.
It's just,
so that should be part of the motion as well.
I think that was in your motion. That-
Not ADP.
No, he didn't
Oh, right,
name
right.
the company.
Just to change payroll companies.
Right.
I'll make a motion that we switch from Primex to ADP, or Paychex
Yeah,
to ADP.
Second.
All in favor of that?
Aye.
3-0 on that.
You're on both of them.
and then, about the meetings for April. So the only date that I'm throwing out there is that April 8th, I'm off that day, so I didn't know if you wanted to try to schedule your commissioners meeting.
Yes.
Okay.
We change it to a Wednesday,
Yeah,
the 9th?
yeah.
Okay.
And you'll see where you want that to be, whether this room's available or not?
Yeah, I haven't sent them. I wanted to
Yep.
get this
Yep.
agreed first.
All set?
I'm done.
So we, at
10:55.
10:55, we move to old business tabled items. And do we consider anything that happened at the annual meeting old business? Because it was last Saturday that we addressed now.
It's still pretty new.
I set the expectations of the people that paid to have the warrant article for green space go on the warrant, that it's not our top priority, and it may take a couple of months before they see the first action on that. I think we can start working on it faster than that. I'll work on that with Jennifer,
Okay,
and one of the things I want to clarify, I may want to speak to the attorney about exactly how things are written that force the merger between the lots. Madison does it, maybe I can get answers from the administrators on the
yes,
details on that.
yeah, and
It's
I
not clear to me.
think we can put it right into the,
Deed?
deed. That it has to be merged.
Or at least the purchase and sale agreement
Right, oh, yeah,
before the deed. That's
Right.
what I need to
right.
hammer out. So I'll,
Right.
I'll work on that with,
And you can also get probably some good information from, Vicky at
Alpine
Title, because that's what they do, you know?
They charge a lot of money to create a deed.
Yes, I realize that.
Because then, now you're paying legal fees to the attorney that's there. But I'll work on that,
Yeah,
and I'll get it done reasonably timely. But the expectations are set that this is not the number one thing that we're working on,
right.
particularly after everything we covered with Ian. That's hundreds of thousands of dollars we just discussed, and
Mm-hmm.
Potentially, yeah.
lots of money. Needs careful planning. Anything else from the meeting that we should take the first actions on?
Well, since the warrant article for the, using a cybersecurity firm was passed.
Yes,
Yep.
We need to contact Andrea Libby ASAP and get her to come in and start doing what
Okay,
needs to get going.
she sent a proposal for an agreement?
She sent the pricing of it,
Okay,
so we just need to let her know that it's been
it
approved.
passed, yeah.
We're gonna sign her on, at which point I imagine there's going to be an agreement at that
Yes,
point.
yes, I want something written and that we sign and she signs.
Yeah.
and Mandy Prescott mentioned that we should ask for a copy of her insurance. During the annual meeting, she mentioned that.
A certificate?
Yes.
Yeah.
So do we need a motion to let
Andrea Libby.
Andrea, know that the voters approved it and we want to move forward with this?
I don't think you need to vote on that. She's
No.
been waiting.
So
Right.
you're just gonna contact her?
Right, it's just gonna be a matter of
Right.
contact to get the final agreement in place so that we all sign it and then it starts moving from there, which is exciting.
Take some of the stress out of us worrying about things that are hanging out there.
Yeah,
Anything else from the warrant? Selling the old printer, getting rid of the old printer, freeing up some space for Jennifer to put other things?
Oh, the old
The
printer?
old printer, yeah.
Oh, it's not really like it's taking up space.
Yeah, but you still should be gotten rid of somehow or another. Either goes to the transfer station or
it should,
sold off or given away.
Yeah,
printers have memories.
Printers have memories. Okay, then it should go to an electronic.
So it needs to, kind of like when you're getting rid of a computer,
Yeah,
you
okay.
destroy the hard drive before you get rid of the computer. I'm thinking we should probably be thinking something like that.
It's an electronics disposal firm that does the memory wipe or
No.
destroys the hard drive or, no?
No, I think we can do it.
Okay.
I
what do you
can go
mean, smash the crap out of it?
Yep. Take it apart and destroy it.
Wow, okay,
So,
Sledgehammer time.
good God.
I'll make a motion that, I've done it before.
Yeah. I know you did it for one of mine.
I've done it for a lot of people.
So it's too bad, because, I mean, it's still a functioning printer, and I was thinking about Nancy when
But
we were.
we've
But-
made copies of people's
Uh,
Internal
I'm
Revenue
sure.
Service information.
Correct.
And it's,
You can't just, like a computer, you could take out the hard drive and destroy that and then just put back in a whole new hard drive. I don't know anything about printers, so.
Me neither.
It's nothing like that?
Yeah, I wouldn't. worry
You
about
wouldn't
that.
bother.
They're
Then the
60
market for who
bucks.
you sell
I mean-
it to is like,
Yeah,
this big.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
plus,
they're
plus the toner
50 bucks.
alone is.
you know?
Okay.
We still have a pile of logs that we didn't get rid of.
It's just a
Right.
start.
I don't wanna see the piles of stuff keep building up. It's not worth it.
Okay. So it's,
So I'll make a motion that I take a look at destroying the memory in that printer and bring it to the transfer station as an otherwise municipal, non-chargeable disposal.
Second,
aye.
3-0.
I,
Anything else from the warrant before we move on? That's good for this week, huh?
Mark, is with Porter Office, we'll need to get that agreement, the lease agreement from them, and we'll need to execute that for the 4-year lease.
For the new printer scanner, just firm up the lease.
That wasn't part of him installing it before the vote?
No, I think he did us a favor doing that,
yeah,
Okay.
really, pretty
yeah,
much.
so we can finalize the 4-year lease.
We don't have a copy of that? His agreement for the actual lease?
Yeah, you had
We do.
multiple copies.
So, we don't have anything to sign right
No,
now.
but I'll
Right.
reach out to him and ask him, you know,
Okay,
that, well, he needs to know that, first of all, it passed. So,
Right.
yeah,
If we already have it, why don't we print it and sign it next week?
sure.
Yeah, let's just firm that up.
yep,
It's a done deal.
Okay.
I'll get a hold of Nick and tell him the stuff passed, that we need the Bergdorf pipe engineering and bid package completed. Give him the feedback on the Como drawing.
yes, and also to have him working on DPWB,
That got
Well,
approved
B.
also, yeah.
because that also got approved.
And tell him what we just decided to do with Muddy Beach, that Ian's taken the first step and we'll be in touch with him about that development. Signature items, we have none.
No, except for
And-
the manifests and checks.
Right.
And at 11:03, we move to commissioners' reports. Thursday afternoon, I have the first meeting with the new FEMA team. And Jennifer sent me some documents from 2023 that refreshed my memory, and I saw documents that weren't signed by me that were very interesting. I sent one of them to the FEMA people that are meeting, saying I'd like to discuss this, because it lays out in detail what the previous two commissioners said was spent and how it was spent, in a letter that was sent to the director of the DRA to be in compliance with DRA regulations of how you have to notify the DRA if you know you're on track to overextend your annual
Yep.
budget. And if you read the letter, I don't know if you got a copy.
I sent it to you.
Just me?
Yeah.
So I'll forward to them what I sent, because it's only one of the 4 documents that you
Right.
sent me.
Gotcha.
And I'll send it, copy you guys, so you can see that it talks about tens of thousands of dollars, yet FEMA only reimbursed us for $7,200 for 3/4 of the contract to have Simply Water put the water main back in on Grissom. What happened? They sent this to the DRA saying that they sent this to FEMA. But did they? I need to ask FEMA, take this letter and tell me whether you have any evidence that they sent any of this to you in 2023.
Right.
And do I have to go back and recreate this? So that's happening Thursday afternoon. I'm working on the locks. I like the locks. Working in the garage,
Something tangible.
not bringing reading glasses. working in the garage and reading these little tiny numbers that are on the inside of the lock that are the codes that they put on a sticker. Doesn't work. Taking it outside in the sunlight allows you to see them without glasses, me. But pushing the buttons change colors. And in the sunlight that I need to see the numbers, I can't see the colors.
So bring your glasses.
I took it home.
Magnifying glass.
I took it home where I controlled the light and glasses, and I was able to do it easily. So I'm learning, don't take it to one of the garages or to the pump houses and do this work. Do it all,
And then bring
and then bring it. So that was an hour yesterday. But I'm working on it, and I'll tell Ian when I get the lock on the back door of DPW1 for him, his guys to use it.
Can I just back up? Is this the first meeting you're having with the new FEMA people?
First meeting since November with any FEMA people.
Oh, I gotcha.
When the last message I got from the previous crew is, you're all set, all your projects are on course.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, you're a great guy, is exactly what they said, like patronizing. And then the new team comes in and says,
Start at square one
let's
again.
start back in 2023. It's like,
Yeah.
but attitude is everything. I'm sure I'll remember other stuff after you start giving your
I don't really have anything. I was going to bring up the cybersecurity, which I did already. So, we're on track there. That was my big concern.
And does Jeff have his new phone? I thought I saw it in the office, the new phone.
It is. It's
Yes.
waiting for Jeff to.
He doesn't have
Yeah,
it.
he actually mentioned that.
He did say
That
that
he
in
knew
his
he had to
report.
get the reports and stuff upstairs and to
Get the phone.
work on the phone.
Okay.
Okay, so you didn't, okay. Probably starting tomorrow, Jen, depending on how the schedule. We can start putting in the results of the annual meeting into the DRA,
Yep.
which will prompt a whole new set of forms that the commissioners will have to sign somewhere in the next 2 weeks. The minutes are required to be uploaded by 21 days after the annual meeting, so you have a couple weeks to get that done. And we'll be working on, one of the forms is who the new elected officials are. It lists all the elected officials and when their terms end, and then as well as the outcome of the annual meeting, and all of that has to get into the DRA portal. And the sooner we get that in, the better it is, because starting next week, we're fighting with every town in the state who's trying to get attention from the DRA.
Gotcha.
Take advantage of our early meeting.
Yes.
Can I say something about minutes and YouTube? YouTube has a feature that I thought I heard about, and I actually found. YouTube took our annual meeting that they recorded live and streamed live. When you go with a PC to YouTube, not a phone, or not streaming through your television, you go to a PC, there are 2 ways that you can get to a transcript that is time marked, which is a beautiful thing. And I looked at the transcript that YouTube did, probably using an AI algorithm,
Oh, yeah.
voice recognition, and it was really good. It messed
Really?
up. It didn't understand Dinah Reese's name when the moderator introduced her, and it was very difficult for it to capture what the amended operating budget line item budget total was, because the way it was said by a number of people, do you remember that
Yes.
flurry
Yep.
of trying to get it?
Yeah,
Well,
trying to get-
it got confused on that.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is that you can do searches against keywords in the transcript, and it'll bring you right to the transcript and tell you the minutes. It'll be highlighted as a link. You click on it, and the video goes right to that. So if you're reading through and you're seeing it's confused about what the people were saying about what the operating budget was going to become, you just click on it, and you start to hear it, see it.
Nice.
So I don't know how far you were. You probably have the minutes done, your first draft.
About a third now.
Yeah.
The first time I went to the YouTube website, it was right there, already on display. The second time I went to it, you had to click on more, and it gave you the option of seeing the transcript.
Weird.
So
Wow.
it's incredible because there's an expensive piece of software for municipal minutes that does that. You have to pay for it. Now YouTube's doing it for free.
Nice.
So if somebody has to do the minutes every week, it might be a
Good deal.
useful tool.
I just,
You watch it anyway, but
watch it.
but to see the
Not
text that
something
you're trying to
else.
create at the same time is,
It is odd,
try it out.
it's weird.
Try it, you'll like it. And I'm sorry, I had to get that out so that.
Yeah. No, that's fine, just to let everybody know what's gonna be coming on and, you know, what's gonna be happening in the next week or so, and that I'll be working with Jennifer to get some of this stuff put into the portal.
That'd be great. Anything else?
Nope.
All right. So now at
11:12.
11:12, we see that there's no correspondence. We have public appearance, public comments. You have anything, Doug?
Nope, nothing,
Okay.
nothing more.
No non-public session. The next meeting is going to be on Tuesday, March 18th, and the last meeting in March is on Tuesday, the 25th. And I'll make a motion that we adjourn this meeting at 11:12.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Carol.